Just feelings all day. Hello, welcome to The Honest Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob. Welcome to the Monday Night Showdown with our hosts, Nathan and Dan. Today is James's time to tag out. Most people don't know that actually what we've been mainly doing is, I think it's called crypto mining. But all three of my co-hosts thought that actually that required them to go outside and just start digging holes, which is where James is right now. Not helpful. But it's nice that you two have returned from the cold. Dan, how are you? You well?
Good. I would have really appreciated the mining information before I started digging. Obviously, I wasn't given a shovel, and Vancouver, it seems, was built on a layer of just some kind of rubbish. So I hit like just a thick layer of broken glass, spent needles, and rusty nails. Fortunately, it just meant that I got to go and get a ton of tetanus shots, just all of the tetanus shots.
Nice. Nathan Prescott, how are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Feeling very
short show. If we go along in that. You been up to much?
Just some working stuff, digging holes, looking for cryptos, whatever that is, and yeah.
Perfect.
I hope it's labelled.
The cryptos.
Mm.
Yeah, they're labelled. Don't worry. You just dig a couple of holes and they'll be like, oh, there's the cryptos labelled.
Cryptos.
You weren't here last week. You've had a lot of work on. That's okay. Which I guess means you haven't had any time to do any hobby. Is that right?
No, not really. I've managed to do a little bit. On the weekend, I managed to finish my Gargant.
Wow. So, because someone asked the percentage of the Gargant, so does that mean 100% on the Gargant?
Well, yeah, I've just got to put some sand and grass and snow and a few rocks on the base, but yeah, the Gargant himself is 100% done.
How do you feel about it now? It's done.
That's good. Yeah, very good. So now I've got another little ale guzzler to do, and then that's all of my Gargants done.
Wow, that's very impressive. How are you feeling? I don't know. You weren't here last week, so you might not have heard, but 8 Gobbapaloozas, I think, are on your way, or something. Like,
I thought I'd foiled a lot of them. Damn it!
No, you
I had
can't
people
foil the
messaging me
Twitch
like,
chat.
where can I send it? I was like, no, it's all right. They were only joking. Don't send them. Shut.
Dude,
So some of sneaking around the back.
I think as I learnt at Crim Bobo one year, never challenge the chat, because I think I made some stupid challenge, and that if they did it, I'd drink a Foster's, and then I ended up drinking a Foster's not too long after that, and I have learnt my lesson very quickly there.
Never mess with the Twitch chat. That's the kind of key point. Okay, Dan, have you been able to get any hobby done? I know you've been working a lot recently.
I have. I've been working on 2 little bits and pieces. One is Cursed City, and I was blessed, lucky enough to get one of those. So I'm working my way through that, it is genuinely, I know a lot of people missed out, but I'm really enjoying the models. I really, really hope that even if the box doesn't come back, they release the models down the line, because they're gorgeous. So working on the models there. And the other thing I did was possibly the most hilariously frustrating thing I've ever done in all of my experience of doing war dollies. So when I left Australia, I put all of my stuff in boxes and in storage. And I realized there's just one small Chinese takeout container of stuff that I need. I really, really need to finish this converted undead elf army that I'm doing. And so, bless her, my badass mother, who, like, when I say that she's badass, rides a motorbike, wears leather, had all of her makeup tattooed on because she got bored of putting it on and wanted to sleep more. Like, that's the level of badass. Like, I will never be cooler than my mum. And I've just accepted that. Like, I've accepted that in the grand hierarchy of things, there's my mum, there's like a big gap, and then there's myself. Like, I barely hit the screen. Anyway, so she wrote out there and I was talking to her, and she was like, "Oh, I'll find it for you." I'm like, this seems like a recipe for disaster. So the way it went was her looking through this box with a phone and the camera, and like putting the camera on things and being like, "Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? Is it this?" while never getting things properly in the frame. So I was like, I think a little bit to the left, a little bit to the left, and then she'd go like way off, and I'm like, no, you're on the concrete, you're on the concrete. Then she'd come back, I'd be like, no, now see that, go, it's down, go down. She'd be like, what about that? I'm like, oh my god. So that was half an hour. That ended up me just being like, cool. I think I just somehow need to get back to Australia and get this because it's never going to work this way. So I sent her a bottle of gin and I was like, thank you for your efforts. And she's like, did I help? I'm like, absolutely. Just definitely helped. Just confirmed that I need to somehow breach quarantine restrictions to get over there and find it myself.
You emotionally helped is what she did.
Yeah, absolutely. She was fantastic. So that was that one side of things, the Curse City stuff, really satisfying. The other side of things, like trying to go through boxes of Warhammer in a storage shed by proxy that's barely pointing the camera in the wrong direction. Just the other side of good War Dolly stuff. What about yourself? You're holding a paintbrush or some kind of lip filler collagen there. I take it that you've either gotten some work done or you've been doing some work.
I forgot. Like, I just have a paintbrush on me at all times now, like a builder and a tape measure. Yeah, I'm just like, oh, a paintbrush. This is so interesting. I've been working on these hooses, is what I've been doing, which has been really fun. I built, pressed go on the machine, like same way that you cook in a microwave is what I did. Is I cooked a Colosseum, which is really exciting, which I'm going to be putting some gargants in on our beasts board because one of the theme boards is beasts. But I've been really good, thank you very much. I've been prepping. It's not a riding crop, no. I have been prepping. I've been prepping for tomorrow, where we're going to start announcing all events that we're going to sell tickets for at the TSN Arena. So that's what I've been prepping for. That's some of the work I've been doing today. The printing and also the Super Series returning as well. So and we're going to announce the dates for those sometime soon, next couple of days as well, which is cool. Very much looking forward to that. So that's mainly all the work I've been doing, which has been fun, as well as painting, glorious painting of terrain. I'll never stop. Today's show, everyone, is we're going to be going through the news because there's some great news and there's some interesting news and there's also some bad news. There's no real bad news. And then we're going to be looking at some of the stuff from Broken Realms Belakor. Thanks for asking, by the way, Dan. But like, I think maybe one of the top pieces of news we should probably cut to really quickly is, Nathan, I don't know if you know, but you were the subject of internet debate on Wednesday last week. On Wednesday. Agreed. You came up in a public forum on Warhammer Weekly as a meta breaker. I don't know if you've heard of this or if you know what this is.
No, what's going on?
Okay,
is that Vince guy? Yeah.
Yeah, it's that Vince guy and that JP guy. Yeah, who loves the Gobblepalooza like you love the Gobblepalooza.
Yeah, great guys. Yes,
great guys.
Is this possibly because Nathan is just so good at breaking things in general, like dropping his army of spiders and doing all of this? They maybe just put the wrong word in there, and they just meant that he just breaks things, like bases on his mushrooms and things. They just got confused a little bit.
Yeah, just
kind of
models.
Yeah, I'm just gonna
remember when the Mongol was really good.
Do I
remember when that was really good? So that Mongol,
it was really really good.
-2 to hit, and so like stop Grots hitting things. I was playing a guy with a Mongol and I broke it.
Really?
Because that's the answer.
It was really
right?
bad.
Don't beat the player at the game. Beat the player in real life by destroying the things that they've spent a lot of time and money on.
Well,
so bad. I was squirming like crazy. Poor, fuck.
Well, so
anyway,
you're the 10th best meta breaker in the world. Top 10. Apparently. Now, if no one knows what meta breakers is, Speckles! Thanks for resubscribing 41 months, Nighthorn rule, but not thanks to the new update, they don't. Just in our hearts. You're the 10th best meta breaker in the world, obviously with Gloomspite Gits. That's the thing. Yeah. And some of those other ones don't count, like Wanderers and Moonclan are in there, and Free Peoples, and they should all be fucked off. Richie's the only one who's actually above you with the Gits, but specifically you've got a crazy win rate. A crazy win rate with Gloomspite Gits, apparently in competitive play. People all around the world want to know, what's your secret? So that's the first hot question. Nathan, what's your secret?
listen to what the Gobbapalooza tells you and take their advice seriously. That's what they're there for. They're a council of advisors, aren't they? So yeah.
Okay, and that's your true and honest advice.
Yeah. Okay. The Bad Moon spoke to me once.
I feel like Nath, the reason you're a meta breaker is because, like, if you don't know what you're doing, then how can your opponents? You know, like what's his secret?
Solid.
His secret is that he never has any idea. He's just doing.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
just doing what the Bad Moon told me to do.
How do you? It's like trying to counter the Tasmanian devil in Looney Tunes. It's just like, what do we do? Like, I don't know. Just let him do his thing and hope that when he finishes, we're not all dead. That's effectively, I assume, what playing is like.
Well, another top stat, thanks to Pete in the chat pointing out, is Nathan. Apparently, you finished 100% of your games, like as in all of your game turns. You finished all your game turns, unlike many of the people who play competitive Age of Sigmar 40k or anything. You're the only one who gets to turn 5. How do you achieve such speed when, arguably, I wouldn't describe you as pacey as an individual? I wouldn't describe you as full of energy.
Wow. Cheating. It's you gotta play the game. Spike gets the way they're meant to be played. Cheat all the time.
Well, there you go. That's if that helps you out, Nathan just cheats.
Sage advice.
Yep. Sage advice. Yeah. If you are playing Nathan, he's cheating.
Narrative player.
You. Thank you to Pedro Fantastico for resubscribing. He says, I won a game today with Plague Drones while playing Ride of the Valkyries at full volume.
Awesome.
That's great. That's great. I would prefer this engine. All right, Nath. Well, I just thought you'd like to talk about your kind of internet fame. It's on a load of websites, which I won't send you to, so don't worry. Okay, so into the news section of the show, or as we like to call it, thank you to Dawn Shade, by the way, for resubscribing. As we like to... Dan, you might not have been here for this. Nathan, you might not have been here for this. The news section on the Honest Wargamer on a Monday and a Thursday now has been renamed to, Twitch chat, if you remember its name, What the Fuck is Going On Today?
Oh, no, I was here for that. I was here for that last week. Yeah, that's good. So I guess the question is, what the fuck is going on today?
Great question. Thanks, Dan, for asking. General Beef has resubscribed, so thank you to you. Watching while shampooing the pooch, not a euphemism. Sure.
That's what the Bad Moon told him to do. Fair enough.
I mean, we're only 18 minutes into the show, and so far we've heard about a biker mum looking for items unsuccessfully. We've been told to cheat, do mushrooms, and now to shampoo a pooch. Okay, it's a good start. It's a good show today already. So what's going on today is we have seen a new Silvernet model on New Model Monday. Very exciting. Bit polarizing, I think. The Silvernet model. Have you guys seen it, Nathan? Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've not had a good look. I've seen it briefly during the course of the day. I thought it looked alright.
I don't understand that. How do you not? What do you mean, not a good look? Like,
well, I've
side-eyed it
down and I just scrolled through the telephone machine, and saw it was there, and thought, oh, there's a stick thing, and then carried on scrolling. I didn't open it up and zoom in on its testicles and stuff.
I don't think it has any. Although it kind of has them on his head. It's a weird panoply of egg. Yeah. Dan, what do you think? What do you think of it?
I love the vast majority of the model.
Okay.
I think there's going to be some wonderful conversions come out of it. Honestly, if it's a multi-kit, if there's 2 options for this kit, I'll be super stoked. Because I think, and I've just got it up here again and I'm looking at it, I think when you look at like the cloak, the vines with thorns coming out the bottom, the kind of halo behind it, it would be such a cool, imposing model if it had like its arms down and was charging at you, or like was everything. But for some reason, when it's playing the flute, if it was half that length, so if you clipped it all off from where the second hand is, I would love it. it's obscenely oversized, and with that horn, for me, all I'm looking at in this model now is the ridiculous length of its horn, pun intended. And so, but I'm losing all of the cool stuff, and I have to go back to that. If I owned this model, I would absolutely clip that the flute horn thing short. And I think the second you do that, it's a much more imposing model rather than just, it looks kind of hilarious with the top heavy flute.
The top heavy flute. Okay, let's see what the guys in the chat saying, because I think that you've said a lot there, Dan, and I'm just going to digest it before I comment on the noise. Owen in the chat, big shout out to Owen. He says he feels it might give the army tree animation protocols. A hilarious mix there. I like the flute, but not the alien eggs, says some Norwegian dude. Bits of the model I like. Base is 10 out of 10. A very, very, very textured base. We have seen a lot of kind of comments have been about a lot of the Warhammer models over the past year or so, maybe a couple of years, is they love a good jumping off a rock. But now we've seen them kind of progress, and to see these vines seem to be a part of the base, which is quite fascinating. It seems to be on an oval as well, like a cavalry-sized base, or maybe like a Mournfang-sized oval, which I think is interesting. A single splash release for Silvernet could be quite interesting. We've obviously saw the Underworld's Warband as well, with some more Silvernet models. So I guess the real question is do we think that this is going to be more Silvernet, or do we think this is going to be tying into like Silvernet stuff in Kragnos? That would make sense, right? Like, we're going to see inside Kragnos, Silvernet, and then we might get some updates for some War Scrolls. Alarielle might get better, a whole bunch of stuff. You got any feelings on that?
Sorry, I'm just being distracted by the chat. Like, for instance, saying that jazz flute is very imposing, and that top heavy flute is definitely a euphemism. So that got me for a moment there. But I don't know, to be honest, because I don't think Silvernet was struggling for buff pieces, and I think like they needed hammers at this point. Like they were kind of in this weird spot. So I don't know if this is going to be the model that changes that around, but I think I'd like to see something bigger for Silvernet, because since they were first released, we haven't really seen much, if any, expansion to their range. Like one winged dude, and that was it.
Well, they have like a great kind of like set of models. Like if you compare them to, like, say, DOK, they've got Tree Revenants, Spite Revenants. They kind of fit that role of like Harpies or Witch Elves or whatever you want. Dryads, obviously, as you kind of Witch Elves role as well. You've got like the Snake variants, in that you've got the bow or the scythe or the sword hunters. You've got a big monster in the Durthu, a bigger monster in Alarielle. You've got a big wizard as well, little wizards. Like, they've got all the key components, model range, to make quite a wide and dynamic army. But they just really haven't. I think that's pretty interesting. Nathan, you got any feelings about what you'd like to see for the Silvernet?
Well, yeah, I just expect they'll get a bit better. There's in the Teclis book, Alarielle got to do a little bit of talking to Teclis, and sounds like she's getting fired up. So yeah, hopefully that will translate into some rules for them, their sticks, and they'll get better.
Good. All right, perfect. Onia says, what's wrong with simple designs? I feel like if it didn't have the bronze piece on its back, it would be cooler. I got to say, I agree with that. I think the bronze piece at the back is dumb. Like, I get that, like, there's a lot of showing off, I think, being done at the minute. Croak, this model, quite a few of the other models feel like they're kind of like, they're pushing the boat out quite a lot. And then obviously those kind of elven themes, they seem to have gone for that kind of like, maybe the first Silvernet stuff we ever saw, they didn't really know quite how they were gonna make elves or take elves as a design cue in the future. So maybe this is an evolution of that. I think the egg thing is dumb, truthfully, because like, whatever, like, it's fine.
Well, I wouldn't mind the eggs. I wouldn't mind the eggs if they were on the base and like coming out of the vines down there. Why does he grow the eggs up in the sky on a thing that he has to carry on roots that are growing out? Anyway, it just...
It's on his backpack, I think.
Yeah.
No, it's a competition. Them and Lumineth are going to see who can carry the most amount of shit above their heads.
Yeah, I also agree. Like, I think it was, for me, it's not that it's bad. It's not that any element of that is bad. But unfortunately, the more shit you put around something, it makes it bigger, but it doesn't make it more impressive because my eye is distracted from more things rather than what should be. The feature shouldn't be the things cracking, or I assume the design of it wasn't that my eye is drawn to the eggs cracking up the top, that my eye is drawn to the badass model playing aggressive jazz flute at you. And at the moment, that's one of the last things I look at. I look at up the top, and then I look at down the bottom, and then I look at the model in the middle last. And I think that's again, just design. A little bit of a shame. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love it. But it's a bit like, when we were talking about the last week, the Slaanesh twins, and one of them has that big fan that's split in two, so your attention is drawn to the model in the middle. And the other one is just this total fan all around the outside, which diminishes the model in the middle.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. I mean, there's some really interesting design cues here, which I think are nice. Like, I like the bugs, the bugs on top of it. Hello, are you still there? Yeah. I like the bugs because we might get to see more. Some people saying, maybe that's a little baby Wardroth beetle, and these are how they're born. I think that would be quite fun. Also, it's nice to see a model represented in the song that Alarielle puts out there. Because obviously that's a key component, that the soul pods and a bunch of other stuff, key components of the kind of Silvernet story, and not really represented in models, which I think is fun. I think one of the other things that we should talk about, which is very exciting, is that Games Workshop seems to be going through a bard phase, and I'm living for it. Sloppity Barpiper gets an upgrade. We get this sweet-ass musician, and I'm living for it. Like, I want to see, a Dispossessed with a guitar, maybe some drums. Like, I want to see them really, pushing the boat out. And there being more musicians in the Mortal Realms, because the bard's a cool role.
That you said that, my immediate thought is, let's put together the Mortal Realms band. So, because go with me on this one, right? We've got percussion, the War Chanter. With his sticks, he's just dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Like, you've got percussion. We've now got woodwind. We've got a flutist. We have, I'm just saying that very soon we've got Sloppity Bilepiper. So we've got bagpipes for probably a solo.
No, not a solo. There'll be more bagpipers. Because there's the Squigger bagpiper as well. Got a whole flock of bagpipers.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah, we've got a harp in Slaanesh. I'm just waiting I want someone to build them all and paint them in a unified style for an armies on parade, and then just have a crowd of people cheering for them, and they'll have their band going on. Can I just quickly jump back into the chat a little while ago and
Please.
shout out to Sir Grail and Lugnuts. Good to see you both back in the chat. Love you, beautiful boys. Even if I'm not hearing your aggressive voices screaming in my ear loudly and relentlessly. But, sometimes loud and relentless can be fun in a digital fashion too.
Agreed. And relentlessly, loads of people are subscribing. I want to thank you all. Real Mr. Winters, Desert Sketch. Loads of love to all of you for resubscribing. And yes, Meatballs. It's very nice. I made edit of the model without the bronze egg holder. Can I post an image, a link? Sure you can. That's not a problem at all. But yeah, Bard's Return to the Mortal Realms is fun, and it would be really good if Silvernet, if Games Workshop recognised the mistake that they made with that Silvernet Battle Tome 2 years ago now almost, and not the mistake of putting out accidentally online very quickly before they put it on sale. The mistake of writing it mainly. So it would be nice to see them rectify that, or at least push them in some sort of competitive angle. Obviously, it would be nice with the kind of power level that we've seen Nagash, Archeon, Belakor kind of pushed into in some ways. Croak, obviously. It would be really fun to see Alarielle get a significant upgrade or a huge points decrease. Obviously, 0 points for a current War Scroll. If she gets a better War Scroll, then 100 points, something like that. I'm not sure. The Tree Lord Ancient is a one-cast wizard. I'll never get sick of saying how rubbish that is. That's...
What do you mean? He's a tree. Trees don't know magic.
Yeah, he's the wand that we use to make
yeah,
magic
exactly.
happen.
He should be whittled down and turned into a magician's staff. He's kindling to make some good Dwarden armor. How the hell is you don't just... When was the last time a wizard just threw his wand on the ground and was like, do a magic?
It's true. The wizard has a staff. The staff doesn't have a wizard. It's a good point.
Just saying.
Stick army.
And the other thing that makes him think that is he is holding a staff, so he clearly thinks he clearly thinks that that's how it works. He's not realizing that he is now staff inception. He's a staff holding a staff.
Okay, well, fine. No dramas there then. But yeah, hopefully new Silvernet stuff. That's really fun. Other news is Warhammer Fest, a pretty lackluster event that me and Nathan have been to a couple of times. That happens here in the UK. Remember, we went that one time. We walked around for an hour and we left. That was great. It was really fun. Warhammer Fest is back, but it can't be back in person, so it's online. So they're going to do a range of reveals over, I think it's next week, Monday through to Sunday, which is pretty exciting. Pushing the boat out, doing a proper shift.
So it's a 5-day fest.
It's a 7-day fest, Nath.
7-day fest.
Yeah. 1 hour a day, though. How do you feel about a festival that's 7 days but 1 hour a day?
Give you lots of recovery time. You can go for it for that 1 hour, like proper. What did you say? Put all the boats out, all of that sort of stuff. You know, let everything out, let it all hang loose, and then you can recover for 23 hours because you're going to do it again. Then that's how they should do lots of fests, actually. Yeah.
Can I say something, Dan? As also a bar professional, I'd like to point out one of my ideas at one point was to start a nightclub night, like because that's what I would do. But it started at like 7 till 10. Right? So that's when you would open. Those are the opening times. Maybe 6 till 10. So you could just finish work, get hammered, have your kebab and chips, be on the last bus home at 11, still get a good night's sleep. Right? This is the problem. Everyone's like, I can't go out tonight. I'm like, that's because people haven't made the night out for you. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. 7 till 10. That's perfect party time. Get a bit of dinner before you start, do some dancing, get hammered. Anyway. That's just if anyone wants to start that somewhere in the world. I think that's a good
absolutely.
idea.
After when I was at university, all of our parties were, started at 9, no one showed up till 10. You didn't finish up until the sun was coming up, and then you were just a baked potato of a human being for the next day or so. And then as soon as I finished, I was like, anytime I had a party, like even my brother and I, we had a huge beer pong tournament in our backyard. We did it once a year, 38 teams. It was a good time. And so, but we started everything really early because we were like, hey, you're home and in bed by 12. Good night's sleep, back to work the next day. Everyone's a winner. So yeah, I'm about it. I think that I kind of like the way they're doing Warhammer Fest, just on the back of that little tangent there.
Oh yeah. Sure.
Because the thing is, whenever it's a 1 day thing, I can never do that 1 day. It just never works out, especially with the time difference. And I've always kind of found that. And so I find myself not enthused to catch up because I'm like, oh, well, bugger it. I'm not going to catch up on a whole day.
Of the reveals.
Of the reveals and of the fest and everything like that. Whereas I'm going to give credit with this. Even like I might be able to catch a couple of them live because of the way it works out. And I'm absolutely gonna because I only need to be awake for an hour, not a whole day. But catching up on it as well, easy to catch up on an hour a day of what's going on. So I'm going to say I think this is a step in the right direction. Content is going to be interesting, though, because with an hour, does that mean that they take a ton of really cool content and squeeze it in nice and tight? Or is it because they're light on content and so it's, when you get like a cheap, shitty pizza place that sprinkles the mozzarella really thin? I want this to be a series of very, very dairy heavy 1 hour reveals and not some stingy little bastards trying to make the cheese go far.
So put all of the toppings on one slice.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I want a condensed one slice.
But it needs to be a one slice of pizza that's 5 inches thick. It's just got all of the cheese and the toppings from the rest of the pizza just piled up on that one slice. And then one of those every day, please.
Also, another business idea that I'd sign up for. That's 2. Smashing. Like, that's what you'd have at 10 o'clock when the pubs close. I just found out that the pubs close in Sweden at 8 o'clock.
My God.
Like, what? 2000.
No wonder they're drunk all day.
That's literally what they said. That's insane. 1 hour reveal, 6 minutes of video, and 45 minutes of that's cool. Says not a lot of people generally impressed with the reveal streams, and not a lot of effort put in. However, let's not be those guys. I know it's Honest Wargamer, and I know we are smart, analytical, and sometimes we'll call something rubbish when we think it is. But let's give them an opportunity. Dan, Nathan, bit of a prediction from you both, Twitch chat as well. This is Warhammer Fest. This is their premium event. This is in the calendar year. They're presenting an hour a day. Do you or do you not, just for a yes or no, think that they will be doing it from their bedrooms, or you think they're going to upgrade and do some sort of like cool studio stuff? This is what we're excited about. Dan, what are you feeling?
I reckon it's going to be a combo. I think we're going to get, and it'll be a stark contrast.
Oof. Okay.
But I genuinely think that I'm hopeful. I think it's going to be awesome. I think when you're only doing an hour a day, there's a lot less fatigue. It's a lot easier to be like, cool, this is our badass hour. This is how we're putting it together. So I'm crossing my fingers. I'm crossing my 11 toes. I don't have 11 toes, but if you do, that's great. More grip if you're Australian. It helps you stay on the planet more. I reckon it's going to be awesome, and I'm really hoping it's going to be awesome. And I will be excited to. I'll be excited to see it. I'll be really excited to watch it. I think it's going to be fun. So, yeah, I'm keen. I'm good. Can we also? I did see someone mention in the chat. I would just like to put out. I want to press F to pay respects in advance for the poor mods who are going to have to deal with the Cursed City questions. All of day one and all of boxed games day. Like, let's be honest, they're gonna be like ban. Like, they're effectively gonna have one button, and they're just gonna be like playing the bongos on that
They'll
button.
Just ban the words. They'll just ban the words.
Yeah.
Cursed City,
Yeah.
City.
Yeah, ban Cursed and City.
So if can I just make Can we maybe suggest something then? Can we creatively come up with a different way to do it? And also let's just all be mindful of the fact that the people communicating this are often only communicating the information they're given, and they're just doing their jobs. Whatever the clusterfuck was that happened with that, it wasn't the community presenter's fault. So make your ire known at the situation and the decisions, but not at the people. I think, unfortunately...
Who are you talking to, Dan? Like, none of our guys are doing that. Like, they're like, these are smart, switched-on mofos. They'll come up with, like what did... MJ Pegasus has already said, what the fuck happened to Hexed Metropolis? These guys are thinking outside the box. Yeah, this is... We only tell jokes here. We tweet to save lives, and we only tell jokes. Yeah?
Next Village! Okay, that's it. Okay, everyone from the Honest Wargamer that wants to ask about Cursed City, you have to ask about it using synonyms.
Yeah, Vex Village, Taboo Town. Taboo Town's very good. Yeah, Hexed Hamlet's good. Forlorn Village, I also really like. Excuse me, Games Workshop, can I have some Voodoo Village? Anyway, so... But what's exciting is... Go on. Sorry, Dan, I was just going to say, what's...
genuinely...
You go.
I'm super keen. I'm actually super keen for the reveal, and I am now super keen for the cunning level of Honest Wargamer Twitch chatters in the Twitch chat. Just top shelf. I'm almost willing to subscribe again just so
in
that I can...
no way will we make an emote that you can use, because that would be for Voodoo Village. Anyway, because you can't ban emotes, which is the best bit. Right. So there's also like a little bit of a banner, which is quite cool at the top to give us some indication for what we might be seeing. So there's some kind of key takeaways there. It looks like the banner's quite specific in what's in the back. It looks like there's definitely a Sigmar hammer, so we might be seeing some Stormcast. There's an Uruk symbol. There's also some Warcry as well. And the Uruk symbol could be the new 40k orcs, or it could be some of the much rumoured like orcs for AOS 3. That's the current rumour for the starter box. There's also obviously a picture of dragons, and we don't know if that's something to do with of course, the Gravelords, or if that's going to be some sort of Flesh Eater Court stuff, which is quite cool. So, like, Age of Sigmar is only going to get the Monday, and very lovely, just before our show. So, appreciate you. Yeah, nice. We will be doing a reveal reaction show every single one of their shows, which we've been doing. So if you guys want to tune in with us and do that, then we'll do that. It's going to be good. We won't be asking about the surreal suburb, though, or or the doomed domiciles.
The spooky settlement.
Terror Town. But some quick kind of guesses at what else is out there. Warhammer 40,000. We know that they're like 3 or 4 months behind on Warhammer 40,000 releases. The Drukhari stuff we were pretty certain was meant to happen before Christmas. So, like, we've got Mechanicum Orcs, Sisters of Battle, pretty certain. So that's 3 of those. There's 2 40k releases, which I think is quite interesting. I wonder if the one on Friday or the one on Tuesday is going to be the reveal of their kind of in-house tournament system. I've talked about this a lot before on the 40k show, but they've either co-opted, bought out, or in some way instilled themselves as the controlling part of like ITC. I'm pretty certain that's a strong rumor at the moment, and I'm wondering if we're going to see through Mike Brandt and that kind of architecture there, if we're going to start to see these kind of pro tours set up over in America. So that'll be one of those kind of interesting things if that's going to fit into those 40ks. And then also the idea that we might be seeing the boxed Heresy game, the plastic Horus Heresy boxed game, might also be something that we're seeing in that kind of secret Saturday. Have you guys got any thoughts about what the secret thing might be? They did say in the email it was going to be epic scale. So will Warhammer Epic be coming back?
Okay, here's my idea. It's just going to be them dancing. Like, it'll be like, okay, and now we go to our most shocking reveal ever. And it's just all of them, like, just fucking getting down really hard to some kind of, like, techno beats. For an hour. Just an hour of that.
Just that, them dancing. Okay,
just for a whole hour. And every now and then it'll be like, wow, this person is not very good. But every now and then one of them will clearly have had professional training, and that's going to be epic. So that's my prediction for Saturday the 8th. I'll be tuning in for just an hour of dance tutorials.
Okay, I'm in for that. Nathan, you got any feelings what the secret reveal might be?
So is that's the epic one. So, and you're saying epic is the small scale stuff like
Little
War
fellas.
Master Sky. Yeah.
Little fellas.
So is that what the Horus Heresy and the Old World are going to be all in epic?
Maybe
scale?
We don't know. I'm pretty certain that the Old World stuff. There was strong rumors for a time that it was going to be small guy scale, but now I think there might be just regular small guy scale, not small guy scale. So I don't think so. I think Epic because Epic is small space guy scale. So you're not a huge fan of that, right?
No. What? Small space guy scale? No, I'm not a fan of that.
I genuinely think they might expand like what they started with Titanicus, and I believe, unless I miss my guess, what's the flying, shooting, dogfighty one again? Aeronautica Imperialis? Yeah. I think those are both in the same scale. Correct me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong. But so my guess is, like, my serious guess, other than my other serious guess of the dance party, which I really hope it is that they'll expand on that range. Because they've effectively already got their flyers, they've already got their Titans, and a big part of Epic was your Titans. So I don't think it'll be the same tiny scale that Epic was. It'll be this Titanicus reduced scale, and they will expand the range there because they've already built the Knights, they've already built the Titans, they've already built the Flyers.
Right, they've already built most of it, so now they've just got to like orchestrate the people in. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think that was obviously also a vehicle for them producing Epic as well, which I think was quite well done and quite clever of those. Okay, so that's the kind of what the hell is going on, although we're not finished in this section yet, because with talk of reveals, we can't skip the rumours that have come out this week. I don't know, Dan, if you caught it. One of your fellow Aussie brothers, Smorgan of AOS List Labs, there's been some speculation on Age of Sigmar 3 for a while. Obviously, the Broken Realms process, we're pretty certain was the process through which we were going to see Age of Sigmar 3. I think that's not really a secret. Plus, we kind of already knew it was coming out because people confirmed it, whatever it was, like last year. But that's a different. That's a side note. But then since then, we've seen a bunch of different rumor videos, specifically Grim Dark Alive, and then there was another Australian fella as well, and I don't remember the Australian fella's name. I'm sorry, but that was a couple of months ago. Nathan, I don't know if you saw the Grim Dark Live video. He talked about charge reactions, and then one of the follow-up videos was he was saying that he was pretty certain that Age of Sigmar starter 3-box would be Stormcast versus Hobgoblins or Goblin Wolf Riders. Did you happen to catch that?
Yeah, I did. They were talking about mixed greenskins or maybe pure goblin-y sort of stuff. When they were talking about hobgoblins, they were really talking about, from the sounds of the description, was more like the Git mob side of what goblins used to be, with the wolf riders and stuff. But then towards the end of that, they did bring in that there could be other orcs. So it could be just like more like the traditional mixed orcs and goblins type sort of thing. So, I mean, if that does come to pass, that would be very, very nice indeed.
Because Destruction really struggled for some love for a while now, right? I just want to thank Pointy-Eared Bowtwanger for gifting a gift subscription to the twat. Wow, they should have really thought about that. Twitch plus chat, if you bang that together in your head, that makes...
thank you for gifting it to the twat. Also, I just want to say Pointy-Eared Bowtwanger, top shelf name. Just absolutely, that's like you're in the bar and they're like, what whiskey would you like? And you're like, tell me about your top shelf. And they're like, it's all of these. And you're like, yeah, but I see a shelf above that. And they're like, oh, that's very dusty. It's very fantastic and expensive. You're like, I want to go there. Pointy-Eared Bowtwanger, tippity top shelf name. Fantastic.
Really great drink. Really great drink. I think one of the things that we might talk about is that Grot Pirates has been suggested as well. Scuttlebutt, Grot Air Gunners. Obviously, pirates have been the theme for the past year. We're all pretty certain that everything's going to be a pirate all the time. Nathan, how do you feel about Grot Pirates?
I'm in. Let's do it. Army Hardies. Let's go.
Will you confirm or deny whether or not you'll still be cheating with the Grot Pirates like you do with regular Grots?
Obviously, I'm a narrative player. That's what. If you play Grots, you've got to cheat. Otherwise, you're playing them wrong.
And then you also got Nick Bottles. There's a lot going on there with that faction.
Yeah. Nick Bottles and cheat. Easy peasy.
Okay, good. All right. So, anyway, to crack on with the rumors, so we went from, like we said, Grimdark Live and all of their stuff, and then there was an Australian one as well, and I forget which one it was. Straight through to Smorgan's video, which seemed very clear. Like it was like he made the bold claim that he's read the rules. There was some kind of like key takeaways from that, which I thought were pretty fascinating. I also know Smorgan pretty well. He doesn't seem like the sort of fella to tell a fib, is what I'm going to say. If I was to bet my house on it, if someone held a gun to my head and bet my house on it, I'd bet that he's telling the truth.
Yeah,
with that house.
He loves a good bit of drama and loves a good joke, but at the same time, I don't think wouldn't joke about this kind of thing. So I'm inclined.
Or would he though? That's the danger of Smorgan, because he's so ready to tell a joke. Like, would he start a very professional-looking YouTube channel? There are 3 rumors. So very quickly, Smorgan's channel, AOS List Labs, started a couple of months ago with some very detailed and very well thought out and well produced videos. I thought put together quite nicely. Nathan, you seen some of them? You like them?
Yes, I do. Yeah, they're great. Yeah.
Okay. But Smorgan's never made content before, right? So, there are 3 options. 1, Smorgan is telling the truth. Yeah? Right? Which is where I put my hat. However, number 2 is that he is pulling the longest joke on his exit from Age of Sigmar, or for his launch of some insane YouTube channel, who even knows? Like, it's some sort of long con so deep and so funny that we aren't even able to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Or finally, and the most insane one out there that I've read, is that he is a Games Workshop plant, specifically releasing the information ahead of time for everyone.
He's a deep cover agent.
Okay, those are the three options. I want to know what everyone in the chat thinks. Dan, you know him well. Nathan, you know him well. Like, where are you putting your hat in this one? Dan, what are your thoughts?
I'm gonna go with he just wants to watch the world burn.
You're putting it in the greatest troll of all time.
Well, no, that's what I want it to be honest. Because when the second General's Handbook was coming out, or maybe it was the third, second, I was employed by Games Workshop at the time, and constantly people were coming up to me and bothering me about when it was coming out, what the leaks were, what the news was, everything like that. And so, as a joke, what I did was I took a screenshot from the Warhammer community page that had the cover, and then I vinyl printed it and wrapped an old copy of the previous General's Handbook, and I'd leave it lying around whenever really competitive Age of Sigmar players were in the store, and I'd watch them because they'd see it and be like, "Oh fuck, that's the new General's Handbook," and they're thirsty, they want it, and then they'd go and open it up and realize it was the same one and be like, "Oh." And that was possibly my proudest moment of all time. And so all I'm saying is that I could recognize that same moment in Smorgon.
Yeah, okay. So Desert Hack thinks it could be a really elaborate troll. He might be making a documentary about it for Sundance next year. Already my best rumor that I've heard. Owen says he might be Kaiser Soze. Jay Mantles thinks that he's a plant and leaking info for free testing. Fascinating. What else has he said? Yes, MJ Pex has pointed out that in fact he has just started a new job a week ago, but we don't know what said job is. So a lot, yeah,
exactly. And he said that was in the actual show that he said I'm doing a new job, and this is what I found out. I mean, this is what I've heard on the grapevine. So yeah. It's a combination of all three, obviously.
Okay. Aren't his events called SmorgonCon? They are. Wow. Him and Eddie Egg will pull his... So whatever you think, we can't ignore it, because it's a video that's got like 4,000 views. It's kind of lit the internet on fire. Some of it makes loads of sense, and we should talk about elements of it anyway, because those are things that we're already thinking might be happening, or things that we've kind of seen from other places. So we'll start with the one that seemed the most viable, because obviously it was already like leaked on another channel, or was confirmed, or was also part of Smorgon's deep state conspiracy. I don't know. There are charge reactions. So if Grimdark Live was saying that the charge reactions seem to come from some sort of resource mechanic, Smorgon seems to think it comes from some CP. And those charge reactions were threefold. One, stand and fight, so like +1 save, basically. Two would be stand and shoot, but at -1 to hit, that was it. And then 3 was you would run away d6 inches, which kind of led to some interesting questions I saw asked, like, would you be declaring charges in the future? Because currently you don't declare charges, you just roll your dice and go where you want to go, which I think is interesting. I mean, all three of those I love, but I would like to hear what your thoughts are before I kind of tell you mine. Dan, you got any feelings on this?
I kind of like... I've missed charge reactions, honestly. I thought that they were one of the most interesting and kind of tactical elements of old Warhammer, like old Warhammer Fantasy. I enjoyed them because it was always a toss-up. It was like, do you stand and shoot? Because, sometimes you can do the damage that's worthwhile. Sometimes a couple of wounds isn't worth scratch. Running away became a really tactical option for pulling your opponent out of position and leaving them stuck, but at the risk of them rolling a massive charge and just deleting you. It was really interesting. However, I like the idea that it's a finite resource to use it. Whether it's CP, whether it's you only get one charge reaction a turn, a phase, or whatever it is. If it does exist, I would really like it to be a finite resource. I think that's all.
Okay. Nathan, where
something. Sorry to flip side. Or something that you can negate as a player. Like if you charge from within 6 inches, they don't get a charge reaction because you're so close. It's so fast. I don't know, but whatever that is.
All right, Nathan, where you at?
Yeah, I mean, it would definitely make it more interesting. but it'll also make the game longer. I mean, it could be more tactical and so an extra layer that you can use to differentiate between player skill, but it would definitely make the game longer with all of these extra actions. But as Dan says, but it would be less of a thing if it was a finite resource. So yeah, I would say a +1 to it being something that you have to really sacrifice something to be able to do. So yeah.
Well,
so
I mean,
if
we could talk about that, right?
Like, can be used for something else that's super useful, then you've got to decide, well, I can use this command point for this, or I need to save it for doing this. And he was talking about it being you generate command points every round, and so you'd be using it in your turn and in their turn, and then they get taken back down to 0. I think that's what I understood he said.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, if they're still fairly limited, and then you have to be able to manage. I mean, if you blow them all in the first charge phase, and then it's your turn coming up, and then you've got no CP, then yeah, that would be interesting to see how.
Well, so I think a lot of kind of like consternation really came from a couple of factors, and I'd really like to break them down with you guys because I think that they're quite key. A lot of it was said to be a buff to shooting straight off. You know, you look at already, if we look at Marathi and those bow snakes, allowing them to shoot again is not really fun. Like they shoot in their hero phase, they shoot in their shooting phase, and then you charge them, and then they shoot again.
They shoot
more. They shoot some more. So that feels like a negative. Conversely, though, I feel like some of the shooting units could do with a bit of a positive. Like they could do with a bit of a bonus. But we'll go on to the kind of semantics of that anyway. I think one of the other things that people are talking about which feels like an additional nerf to combat is that if you can run away, if you have that shooting unit, let's say, and you can run away, or if you just have another unit that they want to charge and you can run away, that really lowers the efficacy of combat units. But I would say that Nathan's point initially is that if it's resource based, especially if it's tied to CP, is really, really interesting because it gives you as a player more resource management tools, which I think is great. I don't agree it will make games longer because it's maybe one reaction a turn. It's not going to be two. Yes, if you're Seraphon, you have 8 billion CP. But if you're most people, you've got like 1 CP and that's baked into your list to do a job. You're like, cool, I'm going to be shooting twice with those. I'm going to be fighting twice with this Ghoul King on Terror guys. I'm going to be whatever I'm going to be in. I need to save that CP for an Inspiring Presence. So it's not like every army is going to be using these consistently. You might use it once. You might never use it. And D6, the runaway D6 is D6.
Yeah.
I do D6 damage all the time. And what I mean is I do a lot of wands and cry is what I do.
And I think just talking about it as well, and again, not to keep harping on old Warhammer fantasy, but if you chose to run and your opponent could still complete a charge against you after they rolled their dice, your entire unit was destroyed because they were caught and killed while they were fleeing. And the other thing that you could do is if your first target fled, you could then redirect and charge, using your rolled distance into another unit within range. So I'm just thinking that all of this makes for me the possibility for really engaging tactical gameplay. Let's say I'm charging one of your units and they run away, and that gives me an opening to roll my long bomb charge, and I sneak around into the side of a different unit, and suddenly your choice to run has put you in a worse position. Or anyway, I see a lot of potential for really interesting play. Obviously,
because you're you could make, if it's CP based, right? Let's say you have 3 CP somehow, which already is let's go trickle down economics. Let's get that gold in my pockets, right? Let's say you've got 3 somehow. Yeah, what, I'm making 3 units run D6 away. Okay, that seems pretty productive. But then that means I'm not I'm not, especially if they reset every round, like Nathan says, if I've got that at the top of the turn somehow, or it was my first, I went first, I spent all my CP to do all my actions, somehow I'm still sat on 3, I'm making 3 units run. I just don't see anyone having 3 CP. Ever. like to do unless it's Seraphon, but they're already jerks anyway, so who gives a fuck? Like, I just don't see it being that much of a big deal. But the standard shoot is more interesting.
Well, they've got a standard shoot anyway. So
yeah. But it also like you think about armies like Grots, right? Like they can generate Gloomspite can generate tons of CP in certain lists that they don't need. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But all it means that when you're charging Grots, they can run all the time, or they can always fucking shoot their dumb little bows at you, or whatever they choose to do. And that kind of does, I don't know, it makes sense. I think it's good. I think that the argument that it just makes shooting stronger, if you stop and think about it, the fact that shooting's quite dominant at the moment isn't shooting across the board. It's a select number of units in a select number of armies. Like no one is walking around beating the drum and being like, oh my gosh, it's awful. Crossbowmen in a free cities list are broken. Gosh,
I'm sick of hearing people complain about dark shards. Actually, I had to block a few people on Twitter.
Also,
I muted them. Fed up.
Can you imagine? It is ridiculous the fact that we haven't had a stand and shoot reaction. That you have these elves with machine gun crossbows standing there, and something's running towards them, and you could just imagine the guy on the end who's like, "Hey, boss, like." We should definitely shoot, right? And he's like, no, it's their turn. He's like, but I just would like to point out that we have these, and where we will stand here and we will wait to see if they make it. Yeah. Cool.
Well, I mean, Coloru's pointed out that, of course, it's the Sisters of the Watch. This is a generic kind of nerf for them, because that's their ability. And I think that's going to be the main issue. But let's talk about shooting very quickly, because I saw, like, the complaints about shooting, I think some of it is very valid. Because if we look at the top armies and we look at some of the top lists, and I think shooting is generally considered to be uninteractive, or not as interactive as combat, obviously ignoring the pile-in and activation wars, of course. Ignoring all of that. Just take that straight fucking out. And the entire Idneth Deepkin book. Also that. Just take all of that out, and combat is generally more interactive. Yeah? But again, take all three of those things out. So the past 2 years. Three. Take 3 years out. Yeah? And then generally more interactive. We don't have any fucking terrain. Like, that's the end of the conversation. Everyone's like, that cunt shot me from over there. It was like, are there any walls? Like, there are no fucking walls. Like, the reason that World War I movies are so horrific is there's some young lad, and he's like, I don't want to go over the top, boss. And he's like, why not? He's like, well, there's no walls to hide behind, boss. It's just a flat land, and he's going to shoot me. He'll shoot me, governor. Don't send me over. And that's what it is. It's a flat land. So, I would like to see more terrain on boards before I
go over the top.
I mean, that whole thing was over the top. Let's talk about that. But yeah, I would like to see more of that. But generally, I actually think that although 3 of those reactions, especially if they're linked to resources, and if, here's a caveat, and if we don't get loads of CP, if there's not like some big Billy Bollocks who's like 13 CP a turn, then I think it's good, because you are, as a player, using more resource management. You're like kind of planning ahead. Someone I was in a chat earlier today, and someone was like, how do you plan turns ahead? And I was like, what I do is I look at my guys' army list, I think about how they might play and how I might play, and then what I do is I deploy, and I see if I've kind of won that deployment game, and then what I try and do is I try and hit their things with the things I want to hit them with, and not let their things hit the things I want to hit them with. And then in turn 2, I panic, because all of that's gone wrong. That's the process.
Yeah. And it is like you sit down and there's that next step where, for anyone who's starting out or maybe hasn't played a crazy amount of tournaments, it's where you look at your opponent's list and you look at the match. And I always ask myself 2 questions. I ask, how does my opponent win this battle plan? And how does my opponent beat my army? And I try to, like, every turn, I try to keep reminding myself of that. Like, because I'm obviously thinking about how I want to win, but I'm also trying to think about how my opponent is going to try and bust up that for me. And that's interesting. I also just want to touch on something that someone mentioned in the chat, and I want to put it out there. Every single time there's been a new edition, or there's been a new General's Handbook, or whatever there are people that freak out about changes because change is scary. I remember when CP were first coming in, And Jesus flippity dippity on a bicycle, you would have thought that the sky was falling the way that some people were talking. They're like, it ruined 40K, it'll ruin Age of Sigmar, it's the worst thing in the world. And I was like, yeah, okay, just put your manners back in. There's a good chance that you don't know what it's going to be like because you haven't got the full picture. And I would just say
we did. We were like command point stacking, and me and Nathan were doing a show like, don't do command point stacking. And then we were like, don't do it. And then Nathan was like, they won't do it. And then they did it. And then Donal blew up 1 billion people. Plague drones to delete the Earth. Yeah, it was not a good time.
And then they fixed it. But more to the point, like, there's a lot of people freaking out about charge reactions, being like, it'll ruin everything. And I would say that wait until we see the whole picture and wait until we see it, because things are being learned.
Okay, for the rest of this conversation, though, Dan said that there's a pin there. It's done. Also, all models are beautiful. Exactly. Pin is done. Yeah. We don't need to say that again. Exactly. So I ultimately, I think charge reactions sound fun. So that was Grimdark Live, and then Smorgan kind of like confirmed that or put that in there. I think the other thing he said, and this is very controversial, so we're going to have to take this with some sriracha sauce. Don't know what that is. That battalions are going away. No battalions. And I've already talked about this on the show before, so I'll let you two kind of like stew on what you might think about it, and then I'll kind of say, I said my initial emotional reaction, if that's the case, was upset. Because I like battalions. They're fun, they're narrative, they're themey, they're cool. However, I recognise, on a mental level, that they obviously Changehost and Trogherd are the same quality of battalion, but because they're the same points. So I recognise that, but I think some of the other battalions are not pointed correctly, of course. Like Plague Touch Warband is way too expensive. So I think what we could see, I like a mental level, I think it's better, because I think the best version would be that battalions could be really good and pointed really well and make loads of sense, but obviously I don't think Games Workshop have the ability to do so. Dan, you seem to be firing up. Where's your feeling?
I am. I'm going to channel my inner Shia LaBeouf and my inner Darth Sidious and just be like, do it. Just do it. Get rid of them. Put all battalions in the bin. They can fuck right off and go think about what they've done, and it'll make the game so much better. I'm excited for the death of battalions. I hope it's true. Oh, gosh, I hope it's true. Oh, just burn every battalion page in every book for competitive play. Because at the end of the day, all that battalions do is mean what they should do. What they should do in a perfect world is give people cool ways to put together unique armies with the core of the style of that sub-faction or that book or that whatever. That's the communism perfect world. In reality, what ends up happening is that you just have the broken, strongest battalions that you see every time, and you never see any of the others. And that's, for me, is what it comes down to at the end of the day. I can't wait for them to go away. I hope they're gone.
Nathan, a lot of people in the chat think you're asleep. So are you asleep, or do you have an opinion?
Hello?
Hello?
Battalions are a big part of the game now, and so taking out will obviously just be a big shake-up. So there are going to be some winners and there's going to be some losers. Like some armies never go to war without a battalion. Looking at Iron Jaws, for instance.
Of course.
I don't think I've ever seen an Iron Jaws list without a battalion. If it's not a Gore Fist or an Iron Fist or a Weird Fist or some sort of a fist, it's just not there. So, whereas other armies, you very seldom see battalions. So Gloomspite players, you occasionally see. I guess with the new ones that you see that came with the White Dwarfs, you see those fairly regularly, and the Squig ones. But then your standard sort of Grot dudes, you very seldom see battalions in there. So yeah, it's just a big shake-up. So there'll be some winners and some losers. But I think they mentioned generic ones or something.
Yes, yeah, generic, some sort of generic battalion.
Which I thought was
an interesting take. Which kind of like if everyone is able to use them, because that would be what they would be, then it brings some armies up. Like from where they like Gits, for instance, like they have some good battalions, but they don't have loads. But generally their drops are quite high. Like Seraphon, though, sadly, that means that they might be able to produce some lower drop armies, so that's negative, because one of the advantages of playing against Seraphon is that you can drop quite low. But I would say that ultimately battalions just do a disservice to the rest of the book, because some armies are just the battalion, or some books are just the battalion. Yeah. Like, that's all they really are. And I think having those battalions really just means that the rest of the stuff, like War Scroll that's already good in a battalion that's good, and now you're not choosing anything else. So I think that'll help with the internal parity of different books. And so I think it's a positive. While that means some books might get worse, that means at least the game designers can be like, okay, this book doesn't work and we can't rescue it with just one battalion. Like, they have to actually make, sub-factions that are good. And ultimately, the War Scrolls are good. I think you could look at the Slangor War Scroll forever. Yeah, something that isn't buffed by anything, doesn't do anything, has no special abilities, isn't affected by almost any of the kind of like sub-faction abilities, is just useless. Like, it's just like worthless as a War Scroll, just like the new Stormcast one, for instance. That's actually got more utility than the new Stormcast one from the Belakor book, but it's still awful. But what that means is, but what if you could put the Slangor in a battalion that gave them +8 attacks or something? Then all of a sudden people would be like, it's really good. Like, so good, this. Like, but it's really the battalion that's lifting them up. And if you get the ready battalion, then it gives you an opportunity for all the stuff to kind of get written better, hopefully. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. I mean, they've used White Dwarf battalions, haven't they, to try and make weaker armies, just as patches sort of thing, to try and make weaker armies better. So obviously they'll have to come up with a different mechanic for doing that sort of a thing.
I think every single player is going to have a battalion they miss somewhere or something that they loved. But you look at, and I mean, Change Host is an easy example to use and to whip at. But when you look at Change Host, that is a book with so much versatility, so many interesting spells, artifacts, units, sub-factions, everything like that. And then Change Host comes along, and the second you read Change Host, you're like, I'm going to do that. And the army no longer is about all of that versatility and building your list inside of this book. It's about, how do I use Change Host? Like, how do I max out that? And I'm excited for them to go away. I think it'll be great. I really hope that that's the truth, because I was shocked when I first heard that rumor, and I'm now hoping that it's true.
Okay, interesting. Nathan, are you pro this move or like against this rumor? Like, where you at? And also, let me be clear. That does remove the Gobbapalooza battalion.
Yeah. The problem with the Gobbapalooza battalion is you've spent all your points on the extra Gobbapaloozas. So if you're taking less battalions, you can just take another Gobbapalooza of dudes. So.
That's a good point.
18 wizards, baby. 18 wizards.
So, I mean, it's sort of 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. It's taking with one hand and giving you something else with another hand. So,
but they're not balanced, right? When you talk about the ones that you're upset about, like if you're a player and you were playing, obviously Change Host, like Play Touch Warband is another one. Iron Sky Command, you love a cheeky bit of Iron Sky Command, so you can get that. Like or Iron Squadron, Attack Squadron, one of those two if you're playing KO. Like you're playing Gore Pilgrims, maybe. Maybe you're playing Mortex Shield Corps, maybe not, probably not. Like most of the time.
Iron Fist, War Fist,
all of those. The fists. So all of the fists. I was about to mention those. And some of the new daughters came on, which we haven't seen much play. But it's because each one of those is very, very good. Like, but there are like 8 other battalions in there which are bad. Like, Thricefold Befoulment from Nurgle, of course, is another positive one.
Yeah, Squiggalanch.
Squiggalanch, yeah. I think I'd pro it. I think, like I said, my emotional reaction was that I'm against it.
Yeah, it does depend a lot on what the generic ones are like. So if it'll be like 3 units of battle line and a hero, great. You know, that is a lot of, everybody's got to do that anyway. So And then it's just what the ability is, and if that's something that your army can use, or if it's if it's something that's redundant.
So we were looking at the stats today, and Prop Joe just pointed out that if we looked at the Slaves to Darkness win rate, and this wasn't with all the data sets, but with quite a few, as soon as you took the Plague Touch Battalion out of that, like as in you weren't allowed to include it, their win rate dropped from like mid-50s down to like 38-40%, like it got really bad. But the problem is the rest of the book suffers, because some of those war scrolls are too expensive, some of those war scrolls aren't good enough. And so
what if there's a Plague Touch Warband in the generic one, and everybody gets to take a Plague Touch Warband?
There you go.
Then what you going to say? Huh?
I'll say, hit me, daddy, is what I'll say.
I think that unfortunately we stepped away from what I think could have been good with battalions. Do you remember near the start of Age of Sigmar when you were locked into a series of choices, but you could choose from the units? So I'll just always remember the original Dispossessed one, which was one of each of the characters. So you 100% were taking at least one, if not two characters you didn't want to take. And then it was like 4 units from this selection of 2 or 3 units and 3 units from this selection of units. You never really wanted to fill up your army with that. And you had to make some sacrifices to do it. But it was really good because you could kind of build your list your way inside of that. Now, again, I know that would be open for abuse. But can you imagine if there was a battalion for Ideneth that was like 2 units of eels or 1 to 3 units of eels, but then 2 to 4 units of the freaking eyeless dudes, the thralls. But that battalion gave you a really cool buff. Because for me, with my Dispossessed, I was always like, I really need this buff. It's really awesome. It helps my army play right. However, I'm going to end up spending like a good 200, 300 points on units I don't actually want in my army to get this battalion. And if in a perfect world, that's how it was done, that's how it should work. And I could always build an army to play my way inside of that, but I had to make sacrifices to do it.
I guess it's more models in your army as well, which is good for them as a kind of stopgap. I mean, the bit that's a bit sus, is that, of course, they're currently releasing boxes of battalion boxes. So they're writing battalions in the Broken Realms section, and then they're selling these battalion boxes. Now, if they have done that, they know that they're planning on taking battalions away, or not letting them be a match play, or whatever the situation, then, that's... you end up with some models you like anyway, right? And they'll be like, you don't have to play it in match play, but maybe you bought it for match play. So I guess there's a percentage of people who bought it for match play, and there's a percentage of people who didn't. And I guess it really only affects the people who didn't. And it's probably some predatory business practice if the rumor is true. And if it's not, then whatever. I mean, people are never going to be pissed that they bought toys, are they? Like, you made me buy toys! Damn you!
How very dare you! Yeah.
There's some good savings on those battalion boxes as well. So, and Symbol points out that impending lack of support has never stopped them from selling something before. So yes, I don't think that is Games Workshop selling battalion boxes, says Ghost Mutton, months before they remove battalion, sounds exactly like something they would do. In fact, it makes me believe it more. Okay. Saying battalions are poorly balanced, so we'll get rid of them for generic ones. Games Workshop basically saying we're shit, and so let's give up. Chris, I think that's a super fair point. Like I said at the top of this conversation, the best version is we get battalions, and they're pointed right, and they make a way to build an army even more interesting. I think that would be really cool. That would be the best version. If we don't get that, I'd rather they got rid of Change Host and Vanguard Wing and all the other ones that I had to deal with whenever Supreme Cyberites. What a great interactive combat phase that was. Okay, so the other rumors are ones that I think are super positive. To hit and to wound capped at -1/+1. Huge fan. Nathan, specifically, fuck you.
Yeah, someone's like, I brought Geminids and I have nets, and you're just like, and you can eat a sack of dicks.
Yeah, just fucking eat it up, big boy. I heard that and I was fucking finger gunning outside. Grabbed a small boy outside. I was like, no nets! And he was like, get off me, old man. What are you doing?
I don't want to go over the top.
Don't send me up in that Age of Sigmar. They've all got guns and no walls. Oh, yes. Oh, of course, Ghost Mutton. Thank you. I forgot about that. And +1 to save, so a maximum of +1 to save as well, which I think is really interesting. Nathan, how do you feel about capped, like to hit, to wound, and save things?
Yeah, obviously it hurts some armies, but I think it makes for a more enjoyable game. I've never, playing against multiple minuses to hit is horrible.
Agreed.
Yeah. I used to play against the Neferata, and that when they could make you -3 to hit. And those were the days when if you couldn't hit, you couldn't hit. And yeah, I remember fighting against some armies which I couldn't hit at all. So you'd get to the combat phase and just say, I pile in and I don't roll any dice. You can do your thing.
Yeah. Effectively, it means that we will no longer have a situation which I like to call sucks to suck, which is when you'd rock up and you'd be like, prepare to receive my ultimate death unit. They're buffed to the hell, blah, blah, blah. And then someone was just standing there being like, can't touch this, do-do-do-do, can't touch this, do-do-do. And you're like, fuck. And you're like, yeah, so you can't hurt me or do anything like that. I hope that also includes, like, that's just blanket everything. Save rolls, everything. Like, your max modifier is +1 or -1.
I think it's positive. Like, we've seen it in 40k. I think ultimately it makes the math on units a bit easier. It makes a less of, like you both said, those games where you turn up and just something's like someone's just removed your ability to play. Like, you pay points. And a lot of those minuses, not nets, fuck you nets, like were are something you have to apply via a spell or maybe even a command ability. Normally spells were kind of the process, but sometimes they were unit based. And that's nice, because then it just kind of like, it puts it, I mean, it makes that -1 to wound valuable on Geminids, -1 attack valuable on Geminids now, right? That's like, because now you're like -1 attack, and I make you -1 to hit. So there's a range of debuffs. I think it's a positive change, personally. The rumour of +1 save only, massive positive. Huge positive, because already we've seen, now, I'm not, like, racist. But I hate Fire Slayers.
Because I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to let you finish. But the first thing I want to flag is that anyone who starts a sentence with "I'm not racist" is 110% about to say something racist.
But I hate like Fire Slayers.
Like, no offense, and you're just like preparing to be offended. Okay.
I mean, put my ginger mohawk on.
There were so many people sat at home clenching their asshole and were like, "Uh-oh."
There's the intern back there in Warhammer, Honest Wargamer Studios, was standing there next to the big red button that's just like delete show, and is like,
Anyway, my the point is I hate Fire Slayers. Like, I've said this time and time again because they look awful, and for a bunch of different reasons. They're naked dwarfs. It's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. But the point is that already 2 of these changes are huge. No battalions for Fire Slayers.
You make Fire Slayers very happy.
Why?
Your anger makes them happy.
I mean, something I didn't bring up earlier is if we are in the age of big hats, Dan and Nathan, with all these elves, imagine how big the hats on the Chaos Dwarfs are going to be. They'll be like dwarf and then 200% more dwarf that's hat. It'll be insane.
I get it, but Rob, you need to let go of this pretend make-believe faction that you created for yourself. I don't care that you're 3D printing your own army. I don't care that you've written your own rules. Just let it go. I think we can all agree that it's time to move on.
Just play elves like you want to.
No, I'm not. Never. However, I think that's huge, right? Them not having a 2+, like Prop Joe says in the chat, 2+, 4+ is big, and also not having Lords of the Lodge. Not having Lords of the Lodge is hilarious. Fuck you in the sea, is what I think. I mean, as a impartial observer, I hope that they survive this coming change, and the people who play them are very happy. Wait, so what's someone's...
buy one of those armies.
You're going to buy one of those armies? Are you?
Fire.
Are you? You've got to paint 8 Goblin Paloozas. You're going to be fucking busy, mate. You got no time. Yeah? You're going to be batch painting Boggle Eye. That's what you're going to be doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think the +1 save going away, it affects Idneth Deepkin. Dan, if it helps you, it's going to affect Liberators. Pick one side.
I just think, like, again, buffs like that and debuffs should be capped. Because then what that does is it gives you room to write, like, okay, to give an example, my Dispossessed army builds a lot into Rend. And then I come up against Nighthorn, which at the time when they were kicking us and taking names, I paid points for my Rend, and then they were all ethereal, and my entire army was based around it. And I was like, damn, that kind of sucks. But I do get it. But then when it's like, cool, I ignore your Rend. Also, your multiple minuses to hit. Also, I still get Rend against you. Like, it started to stack. Where if you can only make someone -1 or +1 to hit or wound, however, that gives you room to create rules that are like, opponents only hit this model on a 5 or a 6, or they only hit this model on a 6. For when you're like, I want this to be really, really hard to hit, or something along those lines, then you can write those because it's really easy to balance those rules. When you had, say, Netters and really cheap Geminids and multiple other cheap ways to get -1 to hit, it's easy to point the nets in the unit of goblins, but it's hard to point the nets in the unit of goblins and the combo with the 2 other -1s to hit that are also really cheap. Because at that point, that's not worth 120 points, that's worth 300 points of debuffs. And I think that then you can just go, cool, nets, units, net, like, instead of going -1 to hit, you can say, in combat, this unit can never be hit on better than a 4+. And so you're like, cool, done. Blanket, easy to rule against.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. I think it's great all across. Nate, you got any other thoughts on these, as is?
No, yeah, I think in general the capping thing is good because, yeah, it takes out the negative play aspect of that. That would be there quite often. So
I think it also makes.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I would say it just also makes matchups a little bit cleaner as well. Like if you've got a unit, the worst it's going to do is -1, like worse than it's pointed at. So yeah, like personally, I think that's positive. Dan, I like your idea of like giving some design space. I think that's really interesting as well. But yeah, and the cap on pluses to saves, I think, is really good as well because it means you don't have to introduce loads of mortal wounds. It means you don't have. Like, it's just good, generally. And it makes Rend more valuable as well. So when they put Rend out there, that's positive. So, Skink Priest staffs with that -1 Rend, it's good for them. Like, that they've got that -1 Rend. I'm not... Gluttons. I was kind of having a conversation with someone the other day. Gluttons, do they have any Rend on their club attack?
No.
Negative.
Yeah, because they're a terrible war scroll. That's just for Donal. I want him to know that. That's just for him.
I will say that Gluttons are one of the most favorite models that I've ever painted. I adore them. They're gorgeous. And no
Rend on that bear trap I'm looking at, Dan.
No, and unfortunately, I wish that they did damage to anything other than things with no armor or other than their impact hits when they charge into stuff. But I adore Gluttons. Painting them is possibly one of the most fun I have ever had painting War Dollies. I just wish that they were reflected in game in that regard.
Okay. What were the other rumors? What was that? Was that it? Was it the? I think that was it, right? Wasn't it? Caps, the battalions, the charge reactions was from the video. Yeah. I think that was it. Unless go on.
No, I was just going to say, obviously, a lot the fuck has happened today because that's an hour and a half of what the fuck has happened today.
Wow.
So a lot.
Oh yeah, Diadrin. Oh no, hold on. Sorry, there was also something that turn 3 objective. So yes, if you went second in the priority roll, so priority roll for turn 3, Dan. If you go second, and we don't know how, if it's like CP based or whatever, if you go second, you're able to burn an objective. That's one. So, like, you're able to take an objective away.
Can you imagine how fucked that is on Knife to the Heart? You're just like...
Well, you would assume all new battalions, right? Not battalions.
Scenarios.
Scenarios. Thank you. Battle plans. There's the B. All new battle plans. You would assume. So, like, I don't think that we'll see that battle plans stay as they are. Because, of course, they can't already, because we're going to be getting 44 by 60 boards. That's, like, a rumour that's so, like, that's all of my chips. That's, like, my firstborn kid. That'll never happen.
If I was leaking shit, Rob, I would 100% put in some bullshit just to make so that people will commit too early and think that they're getting ahead of the game, and then it rocks up and it's like, yeah, nah, fuck yeah, got you, mate. And you're like, I just cut the edges off all of my mushrooms and all of my boards, and it turns out they're the same size.
I'd be pretty certain that it's going to be small.
They can't measure anything anyway, so I wouldn't put too much value into that.
They can't measure bases. They can't measure... Have we ever had a GHB where they've actually put the objectives and put the actual fucking sizes on them, like, ever? Or the deployment zone? They just can't be asked. Have you ever seen... if you ever look over your GHB and look at the deployment zone, you're like, so what range is that, lads? And they're like, we're not telling you. Do some basic math. Work it out. This is the plug-and-play part of the book. What did Chris say? I'm not keen on the board size change. Well, Chris, it's just going to happen, so I don't think there's much we could say. Some of the Great says, that's interesting. I used to play Flames of War on the Danish ETC team back in the day, and most missions were 1 to 3 objectives where the defender would be able to move objectives during the game, made for some awesome tactical gameplay. I like it. If it's a thing that happens, I like it. Because I think that gives even more credence to that turn 3 priority roll. And also going second is just better into turn 3. So that's a huge positive, I'd say. It feels straight off. What do you think, Dan?
I'm on all of the rumors and all the stuff coming out. If half of it's true, I'm more excited for this edition than I was for second. Because it's... I will always be a voice saying that every time they release a new GHB, every time they release a new update or an FAQ or an edition, I want them to shake up as much shit as possible, because I get excited for a new game. I've played Age of Sigmar, and before it can get stale, before anything else can happen, just shake the shit out of it. Like, put the ants in a little jar, shake them up, and then they start going ballistic, and you're just like, ooh, baby, look at that. As opposed to all of us right now, we're just going like, yes, queen, have more sugar. So I'm keen. I really like a lot of the rumors I'm hearing. I'm super excited for them, because I think it's going to shake the bejesus out of Age of Sigmar. It's going to be a new competitive scene for War Dollies as well. And I'm keen. I'm keen.
Okay. All right, good. Nathan, how do you feel about that bit?
Yeah, I think since Age of Sigmar they've started with the General's Handbooks and the editions. I think it feels like it's got better. I mean, sometimes it's probably got a bit complicated and a bit bloated, but hopefully with this reset, they'll have a chance to tidy it up a bit, and then it'll start doing the same thing again, I guess. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to playing the game. I kind of feel it's a bit of a shame with the last handbook, because not really been able to play it that much, but on the table. But yeah, I mean, I just want to play games on the table, and if it means Age of Sigmar 3 is coming, then it's always fun to be able to unpick a new rule set, isn't it? And there's some excitement in that, and so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Definitely. Yeah,
I was much more worried going into Age of Sigmar 2, because like, if these rumors are the case, like if these rumors are the situation, then I was like, they're more positive. I'm like a joyous happy bunny compared to going into AOS 2, where a lot of the, like, don't forget AOS 2 was free summoning. They were like, previously you have to pay points for this, but now this is just all free. And like, it was like one command ability on one unit, and now it was like, just dish them out for days, go crazy. Like, there was some like pretty big changes which weren't like, I don't think hugely positive. And I still don't think that they are necessarily. I think maybe because they've, over these 3 years, they've reined summoning in. So, like, maybe it's all right now, I guess, but I probably would still like to see it fuck off into the sea. Like 3 years later, I'm not 100% certain. Nathan, what do you reckon? Like, 3 years in, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think summoning armies play the long game really strong, and so you have to hit them hard. And quite often you'll see summoning armies are quite small when they start. But yeah, sometimes when it gets to that point and you're looking at your army of Ironjaws and they've just been taken off the board, and then the army that's across to you is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, you're like, oof, I don't know if this is right. But then you've got the points on the board, so yeah, but it just seems a weird way to win the game, really.
I always liked the original Seraphon summoning mechanic where they had to sacrifice spells to summon, because I thought that was a great trade-off between being like, okay, well, if I want to generate this, I have to sacrifice something that my army wants to do. I thought I dug it. I thought it was really good. It was, and then when you get to things like Tzeentch, really annoys me, where it's like, how do they get summoning points? By casting spells. Don't they want to cast spells and do it all the time anyway? Yes. So sorry, they're getting more benefits to cast and for casting. And someone's like, absolutely. Like, you're not good at this, are you?
Yes. Yeah, I think there's still a great conversation around summoning, but I mean, because it's not in 40k, which I think is interesting. But like Nate says, I think tempo, armies that have a different tempo, they can kind of say, look, we're going to put some, you're going to put some like front-loaded damage in early on with this army, so you're like a very fast-paced, like turns 1 to 3 army, and some other armies are going to take it, try and generate that summoning, like Dan said, and in their turns, their 3 to 5 armies. And I guess the real point is, if they can get that balance right, there's a real kind of conversation about how both players have played into that kind of turn 3 mid-game sort of play, which I think is fascinating. Does that happen? Great question. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it does lead to one-sided games, because if the army that has no summoning gets into the smaller army and can take them off the board first turn, then it just feels like, oh, well, that wasn't much of a game. Whereas, conversely, if they don't get into them and then suddenly they're fighting an army that's like 6 times the size of what it was when they started, and then they feel, well, that wasn't very much of a game there as well. So it can lead to some, but then it can lead to some good games, which turn out to be pretty tight. So yeah.
Yeah, no, agreed. I
It's
think
just added an extra layer, and it's whether you think that they can manage to balance that layer. Sometimes you wonder.
Yeah,
fair point. I just want to say, Pureblood in the chat has asked a question. I crashed out the hobby in Games Workshop in general around 2 years ago. Now I'm about to be driving. I could justify visiting the club properly. Price point is one of my main factors now, and unit count both being low relative to Games Workshop. That is. Any recommendations? My recommendation was, of course, the Beastclaw Raider Start Collecting box. Don't think that at this point there's anything more fun that you can put together. Nathan, you got any vibes?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, obviously it's a good cheap army. I think the new some of those new battalion boxes are quite good. So if you like dwarves, then the KO box looks quite good. Or the if you like dinosaurs, the Seraphon box looks super good. So yeah, but some of the box deals are pretty good, aren't they?
Yeah, I'd be a little bit cautious, I think, on the Seraphon front.
Yeah, well, I'd be cautious about going up to AOS 3, really.
No, I just mean for purchasing any models, because I feel like with a Croak, there's some idea of what their new range. We've also seen a Saurus for the and a Skink, haven't we, for the Underworld's Warband? So I feel like there's at least someone having a conversation with someone about what new Seraphon might look like. And anyway, so that could be.
Yeah, I'm just quickly skipping through and having a look and having a think about everything. And honestly, the two that immediately pop to mind for me are that Beastclaw Raider, because you buy that twice and you've got the foundations of your army. You buy that 3 times, you've got the majority of your army, and you can have multiple different characters on multiple different big beasties, and you love the dudes on the bottom bit there. The only other one that maybe jumps out is potentially Maggotkin of Nurgle, because you can do the Blight King kind of Lord of Afflictions Puscoil Blight Lords build. However, there are no cheap boxes for them, so you'll be buying expensive boxes every single time.
Yeah, I think if price, it would be B-scores all day.
Absolutely, yep.
Okay, all right. Well, that's I think that's the what's going on, what the hell's going on. But I think all generally positives, I would say.
Yeah, a lot the hell's going on this week, and it's a good week for a lot the hell to be going on in. I'm digging it. Thank you.
Yeah. Nate, you got any final thoughts on anything we talked about?
No, well, yeah, I'm just interested to see, because he said he was gonna possibly do some more videos. So just interested to see what else he's got his grabby mitts on. I want to see.
Me too. All right. Yeah. So exciting times. I'm looking forward to most of this, I think. And I'm on the hype train. My number one takeaway is terrain. That's all I want. I want terrain. Priority roll to stay. Terrain to be sorted out. I think everything else I'm chill with. But all these things sound super positive. Okay, so looking at Broken Realms Belakor, we already looked at Belakor and the Legion of the First Prince last week. Dan, you've been reading the story, right?
Yeah, I've been going through and having a peek at all the story and things like that.
Okay, and you're enjoying it so far?
Digging it, really digging it. I think I've said before, like to a couple of other people, I think yourselves included. I'm so forgetful. Oh my God, all these head injuries are catching up with me. But I love in these books, the Broken Realm books, and a lot of them, I love the story. I love the background. I love all of it, because it's usually really tightly designed into the game and the world development. I dig reading the books because then you get stories that are individual and independent of all that. But it's really, I find, really well written, especially reading Belakor. I'm loving it because as it's developing the heroes, the villains, the armies, and the story of the realms, I'm also then excited to play that story. Because rather than, some of the books that are like, they did this, and I'm like, cool, 2 models and a thingy, that's a different game for me. So yeah, I'm digging it. I'm loving it. I just wish that they would release a book that's just the fiction for all of these, because that would be a rad book.
Yeah, agreed. Because we don't need the rules, because they'll all change. Nathan, have you caught up on any of the narrative?
I have, yep. So not to give away too many spoilers, yeah, it's great. I've enjoyed it. I've sort of listened to a couple of podcasts that have got like a summary, but I'm reading through it as well in the Belakor one, and I've read through all the other ones, Teclis and Marathi, and yeah, it's pretty good. It's just not a lot of destruction stuff in any of them though. So
next one, let's
come on, you bastards, let's go.
I kind of want to do a show that we obviously can't stream, but where we could record it maybe for Patreon or something, where you two just get really drunk and talk me through the story. I would be really keen for that show.
Oh my God, Drunk Hammer! That would be fun. Yeah. And you know what the best part would be is that I'd do my research. Like I'd read it through a number of times. I'd be like, okay, cool. These are the salient points. This is the story. I'm clear, because I want to give Drunk Dan as much opportunity to get it right. Like I'd be like that would be that. Yeah. That'd be entertaining. That'd be fun. That'd be a good challenge.
Sign me up. Nathan, you signed up for it?
Yeah, I'm in.
Perfect. I'll lead the show by asking questions and then watch what happens. That's a show coming soon. Right, okay, so we talked about Belakor. We talked about the absolutely 11 out of 10 Stormcast hero. So good. His War Scroll, absolutely flawless in all ways. So next up, we'll talk about Nighthorn. Nighthorn, just to give an overview for people who might be new and who aren't aware, Nighthorn generally struggled over the past 3 years since their release. They weren't released with sub-factions, so that was difficult for them. They were generally overpriced, and all of their units, this is very important, worked better in an army where you could bring all of those units back for a CP. That was pretty key. They then got an update about 2 years ago where you were able to take them in Legion of Grief. So effectively it was Nighthorn, but still Legions of Nagash. You just didn't take a Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon who was ethereal. That was your kind of like That was the difference, really. And we saw that used to some effect, like some tournaments were won. So that was interesting. And then since then, they've got what's the word? They've got better narratively, is what they've got. They've done. They're
strong
more successful.
narrative.
Yeah, and really good in the painting meta. Excellent painting army is what they want. So yeah, there's and also big shout out to Speckles I see in the chat who picked up 3 black coaches. So they do the work, which I think is interesting. 3 black coaches. Jeez. Speckles on a real stonk game there. He's like, oh my god, if this pulls off, no one's going to be ahead of me at this particular point. No one has 3 black coaches. Okay. So what they did was they had a bunch of War Scroll battalions, and they have effectively made them sub-factions. So like we saw with the Nurgle book and Wrath of the Everchosen, they got a bunch of sub-factions. And here, Nighthorn finally have got some sub-factions. Sub-factions are really a way to pick up the power level of most armies. And they've done this here. So I'm going to read through them, and I'm going to ask you two what you think of them. So the first one is Emerald Host. Yeah? The Emerald Curse, so this is their ability. After armies set up before the first battle round begins, you can pick one enemy hero for the duration of the battle round, subtract 1 from save rolls for attacks that target that hero. Ooh. It's pretty good.
Cool.
It's pretty good. It's like -1 damage or a free teleport. It's like that. It's like using 2 Aether Quartz to be able to give yourself +1 to hit and +1 save. It's what it's like.
Depends on the army.
Or rend on your whole army if you're in siege. It's like that.
Almost as good as that.
Almost as that. Although it would work quite well on the big threat at the minute, Archeon.
Yeah.
That bad boy. Yeah, that works well on him. That's nice. Frosthorns and Stonehorn, get rid of a bit of that off him. Take a bin chicken down to a 5-up save. Dan, I know you'll be over the moon about that.
Stoked. It's useful. It's useful.
It's free.
Yeah.
So Nighthorn have got a free new rule. Right, so then the Knights of Regret is add one to the attacks characteristic of melee weapons used by Emerald Host Hex Wraiths units that have made a charge move in the same turn. In addition, roll a dice before you allocate a wound or mortal wound to the general if they're within 3 inches of an Emerald Host Hex Wraith unit, and on a 2+, you must allocate the wound or mortal wound to that unit instead. Now, this works really well, really well with obviously their core allegiance ability that if you roll a 10+ to charge, then you get to fight again. So this is, you roll 10+ to charge, you get +1 attack, and then you fight twice with +1 attack. That's huge. So that's brilliant, right? But only on Hex Wraiths, which aren't generally taken outside of mixed death in one place, in one country.
Yeah. It's that guy that works for Games Workshop. He's engineered it.
You are so right. You're putting the pieces together like the Da Vinci Code, but somehow done by a drunk man from Zimbabwe. I would pay to watch that movie. Yeah. Anyway, command trait that you can give to your general, which is once per battle you can use command ability on the general's war scroll without a command point being spent. If the general does not have a command ability on the war scroll, command point trait has no effect. That's a real fuck you, isn't it? Like.
But also, that's I'm sorry, that is the lamest command trait I have ever read. Because usually what happens in these is you get a cool, unique command trait to your sub-faction. That is the laziest one I've seen, where it's just like, oh, you just get one of the ones we already wrote, but for free once.
Yeah.
That work? Work, guys? Guys? Yep. Cool. All right, let's go to lunch. This command trait was written 2 minutes before lunch. That's what happened. They were like, we've got 2 minutes for a command trait. What do we think? We've come up with this really unique kind of curse thing. We're really focusing on hex wraiths, obviously hunting, headless horsemen, hunting the souls of the people. So what should we go with for the command trait? Ooh, something that ties really well into that. Nah, fuck it, lunch in 2. Free thing. Great, done, moving on.
Well, and also thank you to Pissball General points out that only the Knight of Shrouds have War Scroll command abilities, so Anyway, anything else? Tavi Gain wants me to speed through this. He said it's fundamentally a lazy sub-faction, 0 new things. I hear you, Tavi, but we have to go through the process. Like, I can't turn up to the restaurant, and even though there are flies on the burgers and someone throws the food at me, I still have to eat it before I can leave the Yelp review.
Damn, I could go with a burger right now. Actually, let's speed through this.
I love a pizza or a burger. Damn it! Don't talk about it. Anyway. So then the artifact of power, +1 attack characteristic of the bearer's Sword of Stolen Hours. Whew. That is fine. So, okay, we can skip the Emerald Host. They've got an ability that's kind of okay, and if you take Hexbase...
But, sorry, can we also talk about the fact that they clearly know you are going to take a Knight of Shrouds because of how lazy the command trait is, that they've artifact locked the item to a Knight of Shrouds? Like, can we just talk about that? We're like... Yeah, you're going to have to take one because otherwise why the fuck are you taking this?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. That was when they got back from lunch and they were like, fuck, did anyone look at how many things have command traits? Yeah, just the Knight of Shrouds. Shit. Okay, well, they're taking one of those then, so let's make an artifact that's one of that.
Well, it's because it's really just a battalion turned into a sub-faction is the main problem here. By the way, why are they called Night Regret? Damn strange. I regret hearing about that sub-faction. The other thing is about wanting a pizza now is I want a pizza, but I want all of the pizza topping on one slice. I don't know.
Yep, that's a good pizza right there.
They call that a callback. That's what we're here for. Yeah. Right, so Reichenor's Condemned. You can reroll failed hit rolls for attacks made by friendly Reichenor's Condemned, Chain Rasp Horde units, and Reichenor's Condemned Glaive Ray Stalkers units while they're wholly within 15 inches of any Spirit Torments or Chain Ghasts. In addition, ring the bell.
Ooh.
I should get a little bell every time I get an addition. Ding ding. In addition, each time a friendly Reichenor's Condemned Chain Rasp Horde unit or Reichenor's Condemned Glaive Ray Stalker unit is affected by the Spectral Law or Temporal Translocation spell cast by the Guardian of Souls, you can return D6 slave models to that unit. In addition, any models returned to that unit by the Spectral Lure. So an additional D6 on top.
Was that an in addition inside of an in addition?
Yeah. Inside brackets.
Oh we've got in addition Inception.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. We've finally done it. We've done it.
Thank you to the Pissball General who's pointed out the Glaive Race already have reroll hits on their War Scroll. So that doesn't really work on them, but it is a huge positive to those Chain Rasp Hordes, who have a lot of attacks. Let's be clear. There are a lot of attacks on a Chain Rasp Horde, so getting rerolls to hit on them is nice. Wow. Thanks to Bobbin for donating £69 and 69p for the show. That's lovely, you tall Swedish babe. That's very much appreciated. You are lovely. Nathan, I think you have to say I love Bobbin out loud. That's what he paid for. He said it in the notes.
I love Bobbin. And Bobbin loves me. Let's get Bobbin. You and me, babe.
You and me, babe. He's fucking massive, apparently. He says he's going to come over to England. I'm honestly terrified. I think he's going to kidnap me back, which I'm fine with, by the way, Bobbin. So thanks very much.
Yeah,
that's super kind
of you.
Take him. Yeah. Take him. Fuck off. Just because you don't have nets and Geminids now, I know you're fucked. Right.
I also love that he's the 418th Bobbin as well. So, like, there's presumably at least 417 other Bobbins.
There's a bloody queue of them somewhere.
Yeah, they're just all lined up ready for Rob.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
They're going to take them.
Let's move on. Oh, thanks to Collaroo. Oh, thanks to Collaroo for donating £7.31 to the show so that it makes sense that we're back to... Collaroo, I understand where you're at, and I respect and appreciate that. For the podcast listeners, we have a bar, and every time that the Twitch chat can make it either somehow say 69 at any point or 69%. There's some real intense math done to it, but
yeah. So it's currently at 76969.
Mm-hmm. It's all going towards, so you know the PTZ cameras we have, the spinny ones.
Mm-hmm.
So we're saving up for 2 more, but they cost £1,900 each. So it's fucking shit. But like, we'll get there one day. Huh?
This is you saying Bobbin can do whatever he wants to you for cameras.
Yeah, I mean, you buy me 2 cameras. I'll let you. I don't know. I mean, you know, like terms and services of Twitch. I can't say what I'll let you do, but
again, I was about to say Warhammer TV intern Matt is just sitting there with the cancel button when you're like, "I'll let him," and he's like,
Right, okay. So, Acolyte of the Grim Hailer. If Reikenor the Grim Hailer is included in your army, he is treated as a general in addition to the model is chosen to be an army general. So you get 2 generals. And can we talk about this a little bit? Because one of the nice things about the general is you can do command abilities from 12 as opposed to generic 6. And I think that's a nice little thing that we sometimes don't think about enough. And I think that's quite nice, especially on a smaller board. Jesus Christ. Right. Command ability. You can use this command ability at the start of your movement phase. If you do so, you pick a friendly Chainrasp Horde unit or Glaive Wraith Stalker unit that's wholly within 12 of a hero from this subfaction or wholly within 18 inches of the general. And don't forget, there'll be 2. Add 6 inches to that unit's move characteristic until the end of that phase, which is actually pretty brilliant because your Chain Rasp can take this and they can double that up with the Pendant of the Foul Wind, which is an additional +3. So you've got plus 9 inches movement on Chain Rasp Hordes, and that's pretty cool, I think. And especially, you know, if you wanted to be really cheeky and throw in, and they fly, of course, so if you wanted to throw in a Chronomantic Cogs and speed up time, you've got a very fast army at this point, which is interesting. But it's only 1 friendly unit, which is Fell Wind. It's not a Fart Rob. Is it Fart Wind? What did I say? Fell... Is it Fell Wind? Fell Wind? Is it... I don't know which one it is. Nathan, do you know which one it is? Pendant of the Fell Wind. Is that what it's called? I thought it was the Pendant of the Fell Wind. Oh, fart winner. Okay, they're all mocking
I don't even know.
So yeah, like I think that's a really, really, really great command ability, but it's only on 1 unit, unfortunately. Unfortunately. So 1 unit just flies off on its own, basically. Yeah. So,
cool.
Yeah. Okay,
cool,
and then
getting up on objectives,
well, you have to
big hordes that are hard to kill.
Spend a CP. Nathan, what
for
you saying?
each one. It's a command point thing, isn't it? So you could do it, but it would depend on how many command points you had, wouldn't it?
It would. Yeah.
Yeah. So you could do it to multiple units.
1 friendly unit. Yeah, you could. That's a good point, actually. Yeah, thank you.
It just means you can't stack them on the same unit, that's all.
Yeah, and you can only do it on Chain Rasps and Stalkers. So there's that. The artifact of power is the Corpse Candle. Once per battle in your hero phase or the combat phase, the bearer can snuff out the Corpse Candle. If they do so in your hero phase, pick the bearer or 1 enemy model within 12 inches of them. The model you pick suffers 1 mortal wound. If the mortal wound was suffered by an enemy model, add 1 to the bearer's next casting roll. If the mortal wound was suffered to the bearer, add 3 to their next casting roll. Dan, I think that that artifact of power is up there for pretty bad. But if the bearer snuffs out the Corpse Candle in the combat phase, pick the bearer or an enemy model within 12 inches of them. The model you picked suffers 1 mortal wound. If the mortal wound was suffered by the enemy model, add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by the bearer in that phase. However, if you suffer the mortal wound, you add 1 to hit and wound rolls for attacks made by the bearer in that phase, which is great on a really... Anyway, we'll skip that. It's fine.
No, that effectively they've just given Reiknor's every turn ability to someone else for once per game. Now, when it's an every turn ability on a support casting hero, cool. When it's a once per game ability on literally anything else in that army, hot piss. Ragnar rocked up and he was like, "Yes, you will be my general. You will lead my forces into battle. Here, take this." And he's like, "What's this?" He's like, "It's an artifact for you." He's like, "It's kind of warm. Is this just a cup of hot piss?" And he was like, "Haha, got you. You should see your fucking face."
Pittsburgh General in the chat is pointing out that this model the only model that can take this is the Guardian of Souls, and the Guardian of Souls has a max damage output of 3. So, shout out to Speckles in the chat, who also pointed out that there is no command trait for this subfaction, which does mean you get to choose from the generic ones, which is probably better. I think most people would like to see. I think the command traits and the artifacts in the subfactions are pretty much, you must take them now. And I think some people would like a little bit more flexibility in their lists, but obviously there's not there. And I like attacks to get the general movement bonus. I like the movement bonus, and also big shout out to Velatron. I talked about Ogre Gluttons earlier, just as a little side note. So I like this one. I think I prefer Reichenor's Condemned to the Emerald Host. I don't know about you. I like the extra movement on Chain Rasps, which I would take anyway, because I think Chain Rasps are pretty good.
Yep. No, I'm about it. I like the visual of the Emerald Host more, like the idea of like you being cursed and hex wraiths hounding you and chasing you down. Doesn't translate to gameplay though.
No, it does not. It does not. Right, so we're going to talk about now about the Dreadside Harridins and the Krulgast the Cruciator. There isn't tons to say about the Harridins, apart from they change points, which is bad because they weren't good anyway. But we'll start with Krulgast the Cruciator. Krulgast the Cruciator, if you want. So he's a new character. Krulgast Cruciators were once mortals that met a gruesome end on the torture rack. In death, their bitter souls have been twisted by Nagash into ghastly manifestations of torment, replete with instruments of excruciation, possessed of wicked animus. Yeah? So
it's a wicked model, too. Just want to put that out there. Beautiful model.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's very in keeping with the theme of how it's described. I think it's really good. So he's got a shooting attack, which is 12-inch range, and he's got 4 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 3s, Rend 2, which is brilliant, 2 above a glutton, and only does damage 1. But it is, Dan, don't laugh, it's phantasmal torture. That's what you're being shot with. Imagine being shot with torture. That's scary, yeah, against the Geneva Convention. Number 2, phantasmal. That's against the Ghostbuster Code. Yeah, like, those are two scary things.
Ghostbusters and the Geneva Convention. I wonder if those two things have ever been linked in the same sentence before in the history of the universe.
I'm going to make a joke after the show. Not now. Anyway, and then in close combat, he's got 4 attacks at 1-inch range, 3 3s, rend 1 damage. So it's like, whatever, like 8 attacks in total, and it's all got rend, which is nice, and it's all 3s, so that's not bad as it goes. He's obviously ethereal with that 4-up save, and 6 wounds, which is nice, because even though there's that 6-up DPR, the ethereal is nice, but like there's normally enough shots out there that the ethereal kind of doesn't really work.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's got empowering excruciation as his ability, and obviously he flies because he's a Nighthorn. If any wounds inflicted by this model's phantasmal torture, so Ghostbusters Geneva Convention, are allocated to an enemy model and not negated, this model becomes empowered until your next shooting phase. He powers up. The Deathless Spirits battle trait negates wounds allocated to friendly Nighthorn units wholly within 12 of any empowered Krulgast Cruciators on a 5-up instead of a 6. So, they can basically become Hagnar if they're wholly within 12 inches of one of these guys, and if any wounds were inflicted from the phantasmal torture. So he's got to move 6 inches, shoot, so it's an effective range of 18 inches, and then he empowered until your next, and you're empowered till your next shooting phase. So that's quite nice.
I really like that. I think it's good. I think it makes him a really tight risk to reward kind of hero. Like he's a second line support hero clearly, but he still needs to be close for you to get those buffs to the units that he's protecting. I actually kind of dig on that. I like it. I also like that they gave a buff to his missile weapon, but gave him a reasonable amount of chance to do damage with that missile weapon as well. Like it's not, sometimes they're like, if he does this with his shooting attack, he gets this, and then he only has 1 attack with his shooting attack.
Yeah. Like, I mean, so it doesn't, the DPR doesn't work against mortal wounds, which is a problem, because there's quite a bit of it out there, like, ultimately, and we'll go through. So, yeah, Nathan, what do you think about him as a kind of buff piece?
As a buff piece? Yeah, he's not, it's a bit situational. I wouldn't, is he a buff piece?
It's a great question. I think he's fucking awful. But like, you tell me what you think.
I think the buff that he gives is more of a side effect. I don't. Yeah, he's got to be. He's not great. I don't know what else to say. He's just. I mean, okay. It depends how many points he is, but unless he's like 60 points, I don't see why you would take him.
So Twitch, I'll let you know how many points he is. Let me give you an analogy, because I think this one will work. Yeah, have you ever been in a working man's club, Dan?
I have.
Okay, Nathan, you've obviously been in a working man's club, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so you go into a working man's club, which in this situation is the Nighthorn Battletome, and then you go up to the person at the counter and you say, "Hey, what food are you serving?" And then they'll say something like a cheese sandwich. Now, you know that is not going to be the best cheese sandwich you've ever had in your life. Like, you know, categorically, it's not going to be great. However, you're hungry, and you think, I'll have a cheese sandwich. Like, I know where I'm at. And I think that's what this model is. The Nighthawk Battletome is the working man's club. Like, you know you're not going to get something great, but you'd like something else, and you get this model, and you think, do you know what, I'll take that. That's fine. Like, in another Battletome, like, you'd throw it in the bin. Like, you wouldn't let this ragamuffin into your high-end restaurant. Not even your high-end restaurant. You wouldn't let him into, like, somewhere that's doing, like, a 3-course platter just before this, like, the shows sort of thing. You know, like tenner for 2 courses at lunch. They wouldn't even let him in, is what I'm trying to say. But have I taken this too far? Stop me when I finish.
No, I think you've made your opinion very clear. I actually tend to disagree. I think that I think we're going to. I might be proven wrong. Probably will be. I think we're going to see him change up lists, and I think we're going to see him in lists that do well going forward. Air quotes if they start doing well.
Okay. And Speckles has pointed out that he thinks he's better than the Stormcast model, and I'll agree with that. Like, because the Stormcast, at least, you know, they're like a pret-a-manger, you know.
And let's remember as well, if you put him in the Emerald Host, you can use that sub-faction ability to reduce the Stormcast guy's armor save by 1. So he can then be a 5-up save as a Lord Celestin.
I think you should be banned from using analogies when you're talking on the show, because I don't know what the fuck is going on.
Do you know what I always try and do? There was a moment a couple of years ago when me and Nathan were at CanCon, and he went and got hammered by all the Goonboss lads. They all got him.
I remember
super
that.
drunk. Yeah. So he came back in, and I'd been talking an analogy to Clinto, and he said this amazing analogy about how analogies shouldn't be used, something to do with ladders. I try and quote it, but I never know what it. Do you remember what it was?
No.
Fuck. Yeah. Lost to the sands of time. Best thing I ever heard. Then he passed out. It's great.
Well, all I remember is Nath coming back and be like saying something to the effect of like, "Oh yeah, there's a bunch of dangerous animals in Australia. The worst ones try to get you drunk in a car park.
Two-leg snakes. That's what he called them. Yeah. 2-legged snakes.
They give you beer in a car park or something like that."
So now, Dan, because we've still got an FAQ to come, and it was pointed out in the chat, Nathan, if this gets changed to a 5-up DPR, so it's against mortals as well, hello, Sailor. Like, you know, it's still really hard to play for. I still have to do a wound. I still have to be wholly within 12. Like, you're asking a lot, yeah? Where, like, a Scenari Calather's like, are you within 18 inches? Because 2+ fuck you. Like, which is kind of like there's a real difference in the dynamics between those two.
I'm just saying, I reckon there's going to be some play in it. I might be proven wrong, but I think we're going to see some play in it.
What did you compare him to? A Calathar?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Is he the same points? Yeah, is he the same points as a Calathar?
Oh, no, he's 120 points.
30 points, 20 points cheaper than a Calathar.
Yeah. But he's probably more akin to a Shard Speaker who's 150. And he's cheaper than a Shard Speaker because it's clearly the same guy that wrote both War Scrolls. The bin fella. Right, so there's a War Scroll Battalion, which has got Lady Alinda, the Mortarch of Grief in it, 1 Dreadside Harridan unit, and 2 Mimorn Banshee units, who I really rate. The Sorrowmorn Choir. Eternal Handmaidens. Roll dice each time you allocate a wound or mortal wound to Lady Alinda from the battalion. On a 3+, of any other units from the same battalion. On a 2+, you must allocate... within 3 inches of any other units. On a 2+, you must allocate that wound or mortal wound to one of those units instead. And the mortal wounds that are allocated in this way cannot be negated. And then the Unrequited Queen If this War Scroll Battalion is included in a Nighthorn army, Lady Alinda is treated as a general in addition to the model that is chosen to be the general. So if you did take the Holomoan Choir War Scroll Battalion and you took it inside Reichenor's Condemned, you could have 3 generals. And obviously that would be great for putting out that buff of 6-up DPR. I would say that this Eternal Handmaidens thing is a bit of an issue because the Dreadscythe Harridans and the Mimron Banshees are fairly expensive models, and they're 1-wound models who you don't want to take mortal wounds.
You'd actually prefer to take those wounds on her, and the fact that it forces you, like it says you must, like it's not an option.
It's I would have just preferred it if they'd have just thrown in a cheeky chain rasp unit and it was just like all being like dumped on them. Like I get what it's in there, but like it would just be fun if it was thrown onto like a chaffee unit because you do that with dogs. For Legions of Nagash, you do that with your necromancer. You do it onto your doggos. I'm trying to think of other you do it onto your Saurus Guard. I suppose your Saurus Guard aren't very expensive, but your Saurus Guard. Well, Saurus Guard at like 10 wounds, basically extra for Croak, which is great.
You do it on the Blade Lords and Numeneth.
Yeah, so
that's
their only use.
It's Temple Guard. They're the same
I've seen
as Temple
so
Guard,
many
aren't they?
people painting up Blade Lords, and I just am I like missing a trick because I can't.
Because they look cool.
Oh. Okay.
Stupid hats.
Okay. It's worse than Dolores Guard Battalion because it doesn't include any battle line and the shrugged off wounds can't be negated with death saves, says Pisspoor General. And I think I agree with that as well. So generally, overall, so that's everything for Nighthaunt. How do we all feel about that? How do we feel about the upgrade, side grade for these guys, including the new character? Nathan, give us your heads up.
It's very narrative.
Good. Dan?
I like it. I think it's not necessarily going to put them up into the top tiers. However, it's a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more interesting stuff. I just think if you're already a Nighthaunt player or someone who is tempted to get into them, it's going to shake it up a little bit and give you some more options. And I don't think that's ever a bad thing.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's like. There's loads of words you could use to describe it, but I guess, like Velatron said, it's better than a kick in the teeth. We're on the positive train, so it's better than not anything, I guess, is the point.
Or it's better than war shit for Lumineth, who already have enough shit.
Yeah, if I were a Nighthorn player, I would be fairly happy because, it's not like they've made the army worse, so yeah.
Well, yeah, but if you're a Nighthorn player, you're in the working man's club with a pint of bitter that's too warm, and you've already got black lung. Anything is better. Everything, every time there's an improvement, you're like, this is great. Someone will open the curtains and sunlight they'll come in and be like, oh fucking hell, this is good. So generally, an upgrade.
I really wish you had remembered that argument I had against analogies, and then maybe you might not do that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, fine if you don't want to talk. I think it's a good way to communicate. I
love them. I'm never going to stop. You can hate on them all you like. I'm going to always do them.
Yeah, they're the best way to communicate, I think. Okay, right. So Karajan Overlords. It's like you've got a cheese sandwich balance on a set of ladders in a working man's club. You say the word ladders a lot, Nate. Right, anyway, so Karajan Overlords, they've got an upgrade here in Guild Triumphs. So they've got these Guild Triumphs. So if you have a Karajan Overlords army, when you pick a Triumph, you can choose from the Triumphs in the following tables in addition to any other Triumphs you can choose from. Maybe an indication that we're going to lose Triumphs in Age of Sigmar 3. This would be a good place to then put Triumphs so that if they invalidate them, they don't have to do a day 1 FAQ, which I think is good. Right, so the Aether Chemists Guild. Overcharged Aetheric Augmentation. Once per battle, before a friendly Aether Chemist uses their Aetheric Augmentation ability, you can say that this is overcharged. If you do so, you can instead pick one friendly Skyfarers unit, wholly within 18 inches of that model, and if that model has a Chemist Supreme command trait, you can instead pick 2 friendly Skyfarers units, wholly within 18 inches of that model. In both cases, the ability can be used even if the Aether Chemist is part of a garrison but only Skyfire's units that are part of the same garrison as the Aether Chemist. What I really love is when they put a rule in relating to another rule and they don't tell me on what page in which book it is. That's the best. That's just so class. They're like,
my
hey,
head hurts.
there's this thing somewhere. Go find it. Maybe you can use 2 of it. Who knows? Also, open 2 books. Nathan, do you know what this means? And do you want to tell us?
It just means you can use your Aether Chemist thing twice, can't you? So etheric
on a garrison.
Yeah,
your
but
garrison.
No, from a garrison. It means you can
so
use it from inside the boat, is the point.
Yeah,
Because the boat's a
etheric
garrison.
or augmentation, but normally you can only do it on 1 unit, and it cannot be used by an Aether Chemist that is part of a garrison or on a unit that's in a garrison. So yeah, so it gets around the garrisoning thing a bit, which is cool, and you can do it on 2 units.
Once per battle.
Yeah, but yeah, so it's, and you have to spend your Aether Quartz to do it, your Aether Gold.
And you can only do it on 2 units if your command trait was already Chemist Supreme. So if you already made the ridiculous choice to make your Aether Chemist your general.
There you go. So go on, Dan.
Effectively, this could have been... I feel like, and maybe they've written it this way to try and make it real. No one rules lawyer it. You could have just said, once per battle, a unit using the Aether blah blah ability may use it on a garrison that they are like from a garrison or on a unit garrisoned in the same piece of terrain as them. Surely that would have been clearer than this entire thing being like, this ability and this person and this one, if you've got this person, can be used in this circumstance, but twice in this circumstance, but can be used on yourself or someone else from a garrison in a garrison.
Well, the real question is like, if the Aether Chemist is inside garrison, like, is Gary not going to be mad?
Yeah, he shouldn't be inside his son at all. Depending on, I mean, I guess it's more of an issue of whether Gary's aware or not. Like, I think it's more that he'd just be disappointed that his son didn't trust him enough to let him know that there was someone special in his life.
Right, large caliber augmentation is another one from the Aether Chemist Guild.
Okay, yeah.
You call it
Dave. Doesn't. Fucking hell.
Go on,
yeah, so all it does is it extends the range to 18 inches.
And lets you do it from inside a garrison, which the current rule doesn't say you can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Which it always seemed ridiculous to me that he could be in a garrison with a bunch of guys and he's like, hey, I can make your guns better, but I won't. And they're like, why? Because I'm inside. It's an outside trick. He's like, wait, what? He's like, yeah. They're like, I'm not going to do it. Why? Too many doors. Got to be outside. I need room to stretch my arms and flail them a bit. And I can't do that while I'm inside. Like, what if we were upstairs on the deck of a boat that's flying? Can't do it. Why? Not outside enough.
Yeah, you got to be really outside. You got to be so outside. You've got to vibe with the nature. Right, anyway, large caliber augmentation. Once per battle when a friendly sky vessel that has an Aether Chemist that is garrisoned, so inside Gary's son, is picked to shoot, you can say that they will perform large caliber augmentation. If you do so...
Sorry. It's inside Gary's son and then a large caliber augmentation. This is my sleep deprived mind just...
Hold on, Dan, like, you just brought something up and Owen's brought it up in the chat as well, and I think it's worth discussing. The most sophisticated engineering in the mortal realms only works indoors. Nathan, you work with a lot of tradesmen. I bet half of them wouldn't work outside on a rainy day. Tell me about that.
Yeah, you're right. They won't. Some of them. If it's raining. Some of them will. Some of them won't.
How do you feel about the ones that won't?
Not much. Bastards.
Right. Anyway, if you do so, pick one missile weapon that the sky vessel is armed with. You can reroll wound rolls of 1 for attacks made by that weapon until the end of that phase. What an underwhelming ability, but quite nice on, let's say, on one of the big guns. Who knows?
Yeah, but I'm just other abilities clearly like reroll ones to hit for all weapons. So this is large caliber augmentation. It's like we're making it better, but it's not quite as good as our other natural, easier, not once per battle abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Piss off. In the bin.
In the bin. Okay, right. Good. So then the next one, so these are the 2 triumphs for the Guild Triumphs Nav League. Focused Aethersight once per battle before a friendly Aetheric Navigator. Oh, I didn't say that right. Navigator attempts to dispel an endless spell or unbind a spell. You can say that they will focus their Aethersight. If you do so, you can re-roll the dispelling roll or unbinding roll. Pretty good. Almost as good as re-roll saves. Then don't forget though, like what's going to happen is clearly all of the triumphs are going to go away. So these are all KO are going to be left with their Aether Quartz reserve. And that's going to be pretty important. So, Nate, you're not happy about that?
Yeah, if that happens, then KO will be very sad place. If this is all they're left with, yeah.
So then, Ride the Storm, once per battle before a friendly Aetheric Navigator that is in Sky Vessel in Gary's Sun uses their Aether Storm ability. You can say that they will ride the storm. If you do so, add d6 inches to that Sky Vessel's move characteristic until the end of that turn, and you can reroll run and charge rolls for that Sky Vessels until the end of that turn as well. So a very fast Sky Vessel that can teleport. Wait, it can already teleport, can't it?
Yeah.
But this is a way of moving it fast instead.
Yeah.
This would be
sometimes you don't want to teleport, so yeah, fair.
This would be if you're maybe capturing objective, or if you were hammer boat. So if you were a boat full of combat stuff that you really wanted it to get into its charge, maybe.
One of the things that came up earlier, or not earlier, one of the things that came up when we did the Kharadron Overlords review, obviously, Nathan went to town on the fact that you could put a load of admirals inside. It's inside of a frigate, right? And then it's able to be a hammer boat.
Mm.
Yeah, we ran the number.
A frigate or one of the gun haulers with the special compartments.
Yeah.
We actually ran the numbers on the stats because the stats team working really hard at the moment to fill in all the stats. So far, Dan, since the KO book came out to now, guess how many instances of that particular build we've seen?
0.
Nailed it. Absolutely. Nailed it. 0.
All I'm saying, they've been waiting.
What's
for
the point
Ride
of
the Storm.
TTS if they can't? Yeah.
They have been waiting for Ride the Storm, and now it's here.
Here we go. An extra D6-inch move is going to be the one.
And reroll charge rolls, which you could already get for a CP. Moving on.
I mean, you can, but if you do so, it's that friendly ones. Oh yeah, but you also reroll the run as well. So reroll the run in addition to reroll the charge.
Can't run and charge.
Okay, apparently in Northern Ireland, Dave Kane has actually done the hammer boat thing. Nathan, I apologise. Has won a couple of events with it. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Good.
Won the whole event with it.
I just want Pete to know that the honesty there ruined my joke. So
good on you, Pete. And
go on, Pete.
Dave. Dave Kane.
Right, so the Engineers Guild, once per battle, so the Gaffer's Motivation, this is another one. Once per battle in your hero phase, you can pick one friendly Engine Master and say that they will motivate their apprentices.
I'm very uncomfortable with the fact that they didn't need to do this. The sentence worked fine without that. They didn't need to put the quotation marks around motivate.
That's true.
Like, that was unnecessary. That was really because the sentence works fine. And say that they will motivate their apprentices. We get it. They intentionally wanted us to think that he's doing something he shouldn't be doing to them.
That is true. Dan, you're a scriptwriter. What would be the purpose of including motivate in brackets inside?
Making it sexual.
Is that genuinely?
Like, well, no, think about it. You could, if you were to leave them out, right?
Yeah.
Then it could be bribery, it could be aggression, it could be anything. When you do motivate, that's effectively like sarcasm or winking at you. So it's based he's like freaking unplugging some little gap in his suit and unzipping another one in theirs and doing something they're either about or not about to get. I have a lot of problems with those quotation marks. They are unnecessary.
Wow, I agree. Now you're looking at it, it's blatant, isn't it? That's big. That's very interesting. Okay. Well, so if you do, let's see if this motivates us, shall we? To be inspired. If they do so, that Engine Master can use their "by grungy, I have my eye on you" command ability. That's a bit on the nose. I have my eye on you after motivating them. Anyway, command ability without a command point being spent, and you can add one to the number of wounds healed by the Endrin Rigger's unit. Nathan, how do you feel about this ability? Does it motivate you?
No. I mean, it's so it saves you a command point to heal up your boats. It's all right. It's not. I mean, yeah. I guess it's something to spend his gold on.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
in the hero phase, you don't always spend gold in the hero phase. So yeah, gives you a chance to spend some gold in the hero phase if you like that sort of thing.
You're motivated to do so. Right. So then the next one, is this guy drunk at this point? The next one's called Blow the Magazine. I don't know if we've just reached a certain time in the night, but
this is like genuinely like large caliber augmentation, ride the storm, motivate, blow the magazine.
I think you can make anything. If you air quote anything, cheese sandwich. I think you can make anything sexual if you really try hard enough. So, like, yeah, blow isn't in quotes, so it's just blow the magazine. And it's once per battle. This is why when we raid other channels that are into Warhammer, they say that we are, what was the word? Not family friendly. I was like, we make families. That's what we do. How dare you? Once per battle, when a friendly sky vessel... Let me read it. I don't want to read. Do they use dwarf dildos? Okay. Yeah, or anything else? Are they the euphemism overlords?
I'm turning my microphone off until you finish this explanation to give it a chance to come out normally.
Okay. Anyway, once per battle, when a friendly sky vessel that has an Endrin Master in its garrison is destroyed. Okay. Before you roll to see if that model in its garrison is slain, you can say that the Endrin Master will blow the magazine. If you do so, roll a dice. On a 1, nothing happens. On a 2 to 3, the enemy unit within 3 inches of the sky vessel suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 4 to 5, the enemy unit within 3 inches of that sky vessel suffers D3 mortal wounds. And on a 6, each enemy unit within 3 inches of that vessel suffers D6 mortal wounds. Then roll to see if the garrison models are slain, set up survivors, and remove the sky vessel from play, as described from the flying transport rules. That's great! That's a great one.
That is actually cool, but for what I assume the amount of the magazine in one of those gigantic ships is, it's an underwhelming amount of damage for the ship exploding.
No, because if it explodes on a 6, it goes nuts. So really, what you're getting is like some other cool stuff. Like if it doesn't explode on a big 6, but you're basically just being like, let's go big 6, and you can like throw it in as a nuke, right? You couldn't even throw like some of the little cheap boats in and try and roll a 6 on purpose.
What I would prefer is if it was like all models in the garrison are slain, but you roll 2d6 and every enemy unit within 2d6 takes d6 mortal wounds. Like that for me is like an otherworldly like explosion going off.
Okay, all right, yeah, I like it, personally. I think that was a cool one of all of them. What do you think, Nate?
Yeah, it's all right. Again, something else to spend your gold on if you want to spend gold. I mean, it means you've got to lose a boat, which is not very dwardenly of you. You don't fucking go around losing boats all over the place, so yeah. You don't want to be in that situation in the first place.
That's true.
No, that's a lot of gold you've lost.
Yeah.
Also, you're assuming your boat is within 3 inches of enemy models.
Well, if you've lost it, then you've probably lost it in combat. But does it say any in the combat phase? No, just when it's destroyed.
But they'd have to be within 3 anyway. So.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so those are all of the new cool abilities that you get. They're fairly unmemorable, I would argue, but if they're all that KO get left with, I think that's interesting. Right, so then Drogon's Aether Runners is the War Scroll Battalion. So this is one Endrin Master with a dirigible suit, Drogon Humblodson. Try it, Dan, 3 times fast. Drogon Humblodson.
Drungon Humboldson? Jesus, no, I can't even get it right once.
Nathan, got one go at it?
Drongon Humboldson. Drongon Humboldson.
Molton.
Mate,
Anyway,
Humboldson.
Treat yourself to a crisp consonant like a T or a K. Jesus, Drongon.
Why did they put the N on the end? Why couldn't he just be Drongo Humboldson?
I think that's one of Daenerys' dragons, so he couldn't do that. Right, all units from this battalion must have the Barrack Ziflin keyword.
Drongo.
The Etrish Master with the Ringeable suit for this battalion is a unique name character called
Drongo.
Perfect.
Drongo.
So
artifact for you, Drongo.
Fucking Drongo.
You dickhead. But I'm unique. You are not. You're just like everyone else, except you get less fun toys to play with. Piss off.
You Drongo.
Anyway, right, so the fastest vessels in the fleet ability, which is what you get for the Warscroll Battalion, is add 3 inches to the move characteristic of units in this battalion, which is 2 units of Engine Riggers or Sky Wardens, and Drongo Humblebunson.
That's pretty cool.
Add 3 inches to movement. In addition, let's go, at Ring the Bell.
Yeah.
In addition, at the start of the movement phase, for each unit in this battalion, you can pick one friendly sky vessel that is within 3 inches of that unit. You cannot pick the same sky vessel more than once in the same phase. Add 3 inches to the move characteristic of that sky vessel as well. So that can go super fast. So
this is actually a badass battalion if your sky vessels couldn't just fly off the board and land back wherever they want.
I mean, but if you add it with what we saw earlier, like 3 inches plus D6, plus run and charge, very fast.
Yeah, I did. And the faster movement on the Engine Riggers and the Sky Wardens for me is awesome for getting them into combat, capturing objectives. I actually genuinely really like
Where's the run and charge coming from?
Oh, it's not. I was just hoping. It's not in there. Sorry. I just
fucking
was
Drongo.
Drongo Robinson. Right, okay. So, I think I'm with you, Dan. But you do have to take it in Ziflin. How you do have to. Oh no, the most taken. Oh no. So then they've got in Belakor. So KO. What do you think of the KO updates generally, Nath?
Yeah, they're all right. I mean, it's just free triumphs. I guess you don't often spend triumphs on your chemists and navigators and engine riggers because mainly you're saving them for your dudes that are actually doing things. So your boats and your gunmen. So yeah, so it's just free rules really for them. So which is fair enough. But yeah, as long as if they do whittle off the triumphs and that's all you're left with, then fucking hell, they're right up a Drongo's butthole. But
you think this will motivate them?
Drongo's butthole. So yeah.
Well, I mean, they do rock around with big old anal beads on their backs, helping them to float. So.
I mean, not what I thought it was, but that's changed my mind. Right, so the Bound and the Spells, Laquan the Soul Seeker, Soul Screen Bridge, Bound Horrorghast, and then the Shards of Valagar. So these are these 4 Endless Spell that came out with the update. What was it called at this point? Oh, God knows, whatever. But that update where we saw those 4 Endless Spells come out, there are now bound versions for Seraphon. We're not going to read them, because I think bound spells should be banned when they're 10 points more than normal spells. I think they're dumb, and I've not even given them the time of day. End convo fullstop.com /. Right, so then...
they're very strong, aren't they?
Plus 10 points is insane. Like, it's the whole... You put endless spells in to kind of have a conversation about the priority roll, and then you're like, no, for 10 points you can ignore that. It's just dumb. So... They have a War Scroll Battalion, though, which is called the Celestial Stampede, which is 1 Stegodon with Skink Chief. He's called Star Warden Ikto. It's 1 Engine of the Gods, or Stegodon, and then it's 1 Bastillodon. And the Stegodon with the Skink Chief in this battalion is a unique named character, and all units in this battalion must have the Thunder Lizard keyword, which obviously they would anyway if you're taking Stegodon. So obviously they're going to get +1 wound to their wound characteristic. So their abilities are Ancient Telepatok. Star Warden Ikto has the Prime Warbeast command trait from Battle Tome Seraphon, even if he is not your general, which is fine, because that basically gives him a command trait, right?
Free command trait.
Yeah. And then the Lance of Cosmic Power. Once, not in brackets, once per battle at the start of your shooting phase, you can say that this battalion is going to shoot a Lance of Cosmic Power. If you do so, you cannot make Cosmic Engine rolls for units from this battalion in that phase, and you cannot use the Trove of the Old One technology command ability in that phase. So once per battle ability only, and you give up being able to do the Engine of the Gods and also the Trove of the Old One technology command ability from the guy. Instead, pick one enemy unit within 24 inches of the Star Warden, Ixacto, and roll 1 dice for each Engine of the Gods from this battalion that's within 24 inches of that enemy. So, I pick the character and Engine of the Gods. You can only have one Engine of the Gods in your army. So, that's important. So, it's only going to be +1. Roll 1 dice for each Engine of the Gods. So, that'll be 1 within range of the 24 inches of that enemy unit.
Bastillodon.
Sorry, what?
And 2 dice for the Bastillodon.
And 2 dice for the Bastillodon. So, 3 dice in total, armed with a solar engine from this battalion, and that is within 24 inches of the enemy unit. For each 2+, the enemy suffers D3 mortal wounds. So it's an ability for once per game, get 3 units within 24 inches in the start of the shooting phase, which is pretty broad. It's nice.
Yeah, pretty easy.
And then you roll 3 dice, on a 2+, you do D3 mortal wounds.
So you're probably doing, on average, you're probably doing 6 mortal wounds there.
Yeah. You do 6 mortal wounds once per game.
Can Ikto, whatever his name is, can he also be riding on an Engine of the Gods?
So he's a Stegodon with Skink Chief? No, because a Stegodon with Skink Chief is a War Scroll.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what? Given that it gives you an extra command trait and a battalion artifact, all of that, honestly, not that bad.
I think it's terrible. Because you're not taking Engine of the Gods anyway, because no one ever does in any of the lists ever for 1,000 years. Long may that never continue. Stegodon with Skink Chief does see play, and sometimes you'll see mass Stegodons. There are some fun builds with mass Stegodons with a bunch of bows. It's really dumb, but it's really, really fun as well. And the Stegodon with Skink Chief also got a great command ability for +1 attack, which is super cool. So you see that used sometimes as well, especially on the Skink keyword. And the Bastillodon is also something you see as well, but you normally would just be you could just pay half. You could just have another Bastillodon who will do over the course of 5 turns, not for the same price because it's obviously less, but you're paying for half a Bastillodon, and you're getting rid of the Engine of the Gods. So basically, you get rid of the Engine of the Gods, you keep the Bastillodon, and you get rid of the battalion, you're spending those points on another Bastillodon, and that's going to do, on average, more damage over the course, and I don't have to give up rolling on the Engine of the Gods, give up rolling, getting that command ability as well. So, yeah.
And I hear that you're saying it's rubbish, but Rob, it's sold out on Games Workshop web store. So obviously everyone's going to be taking it because everyone's bought it.
I mean, it's 3 cool models, man. The Stegodons are super cool. Bastillodon with Solar Engine looks great, and it's cheaper. So I would obviously it's a great way to pick it up. But it's a terrible battalion. It's really poor. Doesn't do anything for your army. Doesn't do anything for a competitive build. It's just bad. All the way around bad. But it doesn't mean it's not got great models inside of it, Dan, as we know. Nathan, you got any thoughts on the battalion?
Yeah, so how many points is it, sorry?
I don't know. 1 something. I wouldn't take it if it was 10 points.
Yeah.
So.
It's so.
But everyone knows that Seraphon struggled to do mortal wounds, so this ability to do some more is going to help them out quite greatly.
I mean, there is a conversation where you do Comet's Call, Celestial Deliverance, and then you throw in this, and then you just nuke a thing. But it's you're just making your army worse. Oh wait, we've been going this long, so we should call it. Okay, it's been a long one, so we'll just quickly bang through the Artzan's Blazing Cavalcade, which is a Tzeentch War Scroll battalion. It's 1 Fate Skimmer, Herald of Tzeentch on a Burning Chariot. He's Artzan the Immolator, who's obviously a unique character. Then 1 to 3 Horrors of Tzeentch units with a combined model count of no more than 30 models. You cannot do any more than that. So 30 pink horrors.
Yeah, like, what else are you going to take? Yeah, we'll start with brims. We'll just go with brims. Let's
start
do
with
that.
brims.
Like,
Well, I mean, you could, if you wanted to make it cheap, right, and go for 2 battalions.
Yeah.
Now, Gleeful Immolation is add 1 to the attacks characteristic of melee weapons used by units from this battalion that made a charge move in the same turn. If you intend to complete the Reckless Abandon agenda from the battle plan, Battle Tome Disciples of Zinch, you cannot pick units of the battalion to complete that agenda, which obviously would mean that they'd generate, they'd be worth more on the objective. So they're not going to be able to do that. Or is it Reckless Abandon the +1 attack? It doesn't matter. Either of those two. But they've put that in there, which is nice. And +1 attack on horrors isn't bad, because pinks have got 3 shooting attacks and only 1 melee attack, so having 2 melee attacks is cool. And when you go down to brims, they have 3 melee attacks. So they could end up having 4, so it's quite fun. And I quite like that. But that's only if they charged. And then you got Opus Infernus. Artisan the Immolator knows the Zinch's Firestorm spell from the Lord of Change in Battle Tome Disciples Zinch. In addition, any other spells he knows, you can add +2 to the casting roll when he attempts to cast that spell. So he basically knows an additional spell, and he can add +2 to cast when he wants to cast it. So a more reliable way of casting it, and +1 attacks on horrors. And do you know what? I could honestly see this going in an army. I don't think it's great, don't get me wrong, but I would say that one of the ways that we see demon heavy builds, pink horror heavy builds do really well is just weight of dice. So just doubling their attacks.
This is Eternal Conflagration. Is that the Rend one?
Yeah, that's the Rend on the shooting attack.
And it's only on shooting, not the melee.
No, the Rend is only on shooting. They get +1 attack when they charge in melee.
Yeah. All right.
So it's not terrible, but it's kind of fun. So that's it.
Yeah. It's not bad. I mean, if you're going to enjoy it, get out there and do it as fast as you can, because Age of Sigmar 3 is going to come and take away battalions.
I mean, that's true.
So jump on it fast and hard, because you've got 3 months?
2? We think somewhere between June and July, right?
Yeah.
So that's not long. Okay,
however,
cool.
It is a good box. Like, if you think about it, that box gives you your pinks, your blues, and your brims. You'd only need to buy 1 more box of blues, and you've got your pinks splitting down perfectly.
Yeah. I love pink horrors. I think they're great forever and ever. Okay, that's all of Belakor done. With Kragnos still in the pipeline, we still got to go back next week to Sloppity Bar Piper. We haven't even done that cheeky fellows combinations, which would be really fun to kind of explore, and also maybe do some of the narrative from the Broken Realms if that's something of interest to people. Nathan and Dan, thanks very much for being on the show with me today. It's been lovely having you on.
Always.
Thank you.
I'm going to go home now to motivate myself for a good evening and a good day tomorrow. What about yourselves? Have you guys got a good week planned?
I'm taking a few days off because I've earned it and I need it, and my body is rejecting the little amount of sleep that I've been permitting it to have. So I'm giving it a chance to catch up and get its house in order.
Thanks to everyone who watched the show and motivated themselves during it, like Diadrin. Nathan, you got any plans this week?
No, I'm just I've got some more slogging away to do at work, so I'm gonna do that and maybe paint my last ale guzzler, and then I'll have 3 ale guzzlers and a mega.
Oh, what a collection! That will be very nice. Okay, well, listen, it's been lovely, all of you, for tuning in. Don't forget the 40k Adjacent show's on tomorrow. We're live all week. Do keep your eyes out for announcements from the Honest Wargamer, specifically about you being able to come and play events in the TSN arena. Those events announcements are literally like days away, if not 24 hours away. So you guys should be able to do that. And also keep your eyes out for Super Series. Super Series dates are booked in. The teams are excited. They're coming up to play. We've got some great commentary teams coming up to do coverage. It's going to be really fun. We're getting the band back together because we're on a mission from God. So thanks for tuning in to the Honest Wargamer. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Thanks for being a part of the Patreon. Couldn't live without you. And thanks for tuning in live Twitch chat. You guys are the best. Dan, got any final thoughts before we leave? Oh, wait. No, you do final thoughts while I find someone to raid. You continue.
Okay, fantastic. Like, I was just going to say that I've had to play some games with Stormcast in the Honest Wargamer on us kicking co-host Showdown Throwdown. And I just want to say you can all suck it to everyone in the Twitch chat. every single time I play with the 30 liberators that I've been gifted, I hate my life. And I sit there, and the first time I dropped them, I'll have you know, I was like, okay, what's the fastest way I can do this? Dropped them, moved them right out, and I charged them directly into the most deadly elements of my opponent's army. Shebang-a-bang, they were dead inside of a turn. So eat a sack of dicks, I can make liberators die, whether I'm fighting them or whether I'm playing as them.
Nathan, what about you? Any final thoughts? I'm just trying to find us something to watch.
I've been playing with the with them big rats, Hellpits, Abominations, and things. Been good fun. Yeah, I've enjoyed it. So I managed to play against Chuckle Buddy a week or so ago now. Last weekend, whatever, a while ago now. It was great fun. Took forever because fucking computer machines suck really badly. It's horrible things.
I'm sorry, bud. They are rubbish. Rubbish.
Other than that, yeah, I've enjoyed actually playing with the rats. So yeah, look forward to the next stage because we've made it through to the semi-finals. So.
Oh, you have. We'll give you a detailed battle report. Never, probably, on any of this stuff. It's better that you guys as an audience hear it half-assed. You're like, what? You guys play games? Like, yeah, but no one knows where or how. Right, thanks for tuning in. The guy who we're going to raid is someone who we raided earlier today, and he is just a barrel of laughs. So we're just going to return for a second raid of the day because he seems mental. He's like Dan on caffeine, so it's going to be really fun. Thanks for tuning in. Love you loads. See you soon.